Well, hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the EA Sports F1 Creator Series. And after a thrilling round that we had last time out back at the USA, we went Texas way, did we not, to the Circuit of the Americas, where Benjamin Daly, our reigning champion, would bounce back in unbelievable fashion. If you haven't watched it yet, go back and do so. I highly implore you to do so. We've had meme videos come out about that one. Truly extraordinary. George Morgan back again on your screens here for this fabulous two races we've got coming up. It's double header night, Italian job night, and I've got the one, the only TK alongside me. TK, welcome back, sir.
Oh, it feels so good to be back. It's only been a few weeks, but it's felt like an eternity since I've been on this Creator Series broadcast. It's fantastic to be back.
It is absolutely stellar to be back. Remember, folks, double header format, which means we're going to be bringing you the usual short quali, but we will, of course, have two races. The second race grid will be decided by the result of the first race, so you don't want to miss a thing. We are going, as I said, it's the Italian job. It's Monza first, Imola comes second. Two iconic circuits, and I read an interesting fact as well today, TK, in my ever prolonging process of putting notes together for broadcasts and commentaries. I dug a little deeper into the Emilia-Romagna region. Imola in itself has a history that dates back even as far to 80 BC, where the chariot racers would race around the circuit. Different kind of Grand Prix, but racing all the same.
I think that's got to be one of the wild cards coming up in Season 10. I'd love to get some of these drivers in a chariot going alongside one another. I think it would bring a whole different pronunciation to horsepower.
It definitely would, wouldn't it not? I tell you what, folks, hope you won't see as much thrills and spills, though we did see quite a few last time out. Some interesting retirements, plenty of safety cars, TK, but this is the Creator Series. This is what we've come to expect time on time. But if there's one thing that obviously we all got excited about, it was all about Tiamat Marduk's victory. I mean, obviously the strategy, it may as well have dissipated. It was, should we say, a second thought. There was a period in time where we thought perhaps Formula Karim packed enough of a punch to obtain his first win. Fairly new to the F1 Creator Series, obviously competed in F2 and was very successful, becoming champion. But coming back here and obviously looking to perform at the highest level, a few things went amiss, but for Tiamat Marduk, what looked to be bleak and horrendous at the very start of the race, it turned the other way somewhat.
It certainly did. I mean, that sometimes in racing is the way the cookie crumbles. You've got good races that have a poor ending to them. Sometimes you have poor races that have a complete flip of the switch and have a fantastic ending for you. And I think that's what really benefited Tiamat Marduk last week.
Hopefully we won't see any switch of the flips coming into Monza, fingers crossed. Obviously, Hayden Gullis had one of those in qualifying last time, did he not, folks? He's had a slight name change as well, courtesy of one Tom Knight as well. TK, obviously looking forward to seeing what that is later on. Just sort of encircling around those Dutch roots now that he's starting to bear, obviously, as he looks to move into mainland Europe very soon. But tonight, obviously, a lot of excitement ahead. We can, of course, take a look at the standings as well, because obviously we've got lots to discuss. First and foremost, let's take a look at the championship as it looks after round one. Tiamat Marduk on 26 points at the top of the shop, ahead of Meraki, the two drivers who came together, I believe it was season 4, all the way back then when they were fighting over the title. Of course, they had that very contentious battle at Spa, where unfortunately for Tiamat Marduk, he would lose it altogether after Meraki made a little bit of contact. We don't blame him altogether for that, do we, folks? Alex Gillen in third place on 19. We got Matati in fourth on 16. He had a great race last time. Formula Karim, I must say, impressed me. Very unfortunate. 14 points, though, still very much in the fight. We've got a long championship ahead. Somehow, Hayden van der Gullis is in sixth place on 12 points as well. Zafso in 7th, Rasin Chai in 8th. Actually labelled Matty as the big problem for Alpine last time, after he caused a safety car that did not even help him at all, instead helping the eventual winner, Tiamat Marduk. Also, Adam Sanderson down in 9th place on 7. He won't be here tonight. He has got a replacement. We'll talk about those later on. Ricky 03, who had a great qualifying session. Strategy looked good. The race fell apart, though. 10th place in the championship. Scott Taylor on 5 points. Nick Flies on 12th on 4 points. Infratic in 13th on 3. Grid Jokes, who steps up tonight. Obviously, Big T-Mac, who was originally planned to jump into the Mercedes, had a bit of a technical failure with his PC, so Grid Jokes has had to step up again. Of course, he'll be buzzing off the back of scoring his first points this season as well, after securing 2, finishing 14th in last week's race. Dark Viper GT 15th as well on 1. Then we have Noiguera, who debuts here this season tonight. Of course, this season, of course, we have seen him before, but it'll be his first appearance this season. Mr. Dale JE, of course, few words on Mr. Dale, folks. Obviously, we all saw the video that was released on social media, and all our thoughts and prayers are with Mr. Dale right now. We really hope he gets well soon, and I'm sure we're all united with that statement as well. So, Mr. Dale, if you're watching, we love you to bits, mate. Lolinoba in 18th place. GB68 returning as well. He's 19th currently. That guy Vince, his teammate. Aston Martin did not have either of their drivers in the race last week, but they are back now and in force. Remember, Constructors champions twice over in the last 2 seasons, Tom.
Yeah, certainly are. They've got to bounce back, though, especially at a double header like we see ourselves in this afternoon. You have not 1 but 2 opportunities to score full points, and heading into a season like we're starting to sum ourselves up here, it's going to be a crucial evening.
It is going to be very crucial, and every point counts. And we talk about tracks that have thrills and spills. We talk about fine margins for success and dismay. Well, that's exactly what Monza is. Essentially, Tom, we got a very fast track here, and there was some murmurings, of course, amongst the drivers. Obviously, they don't have to worry too much about setups here this evening. There was a cause of concern between the drivers. They might have one setup for both tracks, obviously for both Monza and Imola. The concerns obviously being, I don't want to take my reduced downforce setup from Monza and stick it around a very technical Imola circuit.
There was quite a few concerns flying about in the drivers' chats. I mean, you know, they're experienced racers. They'll know how to handle it if it comes about in that sort of way. But, I mean, if they have a preference in any way, shape or form, they're going to want to try and stay away from that. But one thing I'm going to bring up slightly before we get into the broadcast, it's looking rather damp, shall we say, over at Monza.
Yes, I mean, of course, it's been damp in the UK as well. We can talk about Storm Eowyn. It looks like we might be seeing a revisit of it in mainland Europe as well, this time in Italy. And take a look at this, folks. A slight deluge with some fog as well. It might just be misty rain, to be honest with you, but there's enough water there, I'm sure, to float a boat, and we'll be hoping we'll see no boats here out on track this time. Let's talk about some of the drivers that are stepping in for our usual full-time drivers. Of course, Alpine switching as they did last week. This time, Blackmere steps in for Tom. Of course, Blackmere, he first appeared in the F2 Creator Series Season 7, of course, scoring 1 point in 6 starts, but in his entirety of his time in F2 Creator Series, he has scored 48 points in his entirety of his career in F2, stepping up into F1 this time, replacing Tom and joining Rasen Chai at Alpine. We also have swaps as well back at Mercedes. We alluded to Big T-Mac stepping in for Adam Sanderson until, of course, he had the big blow up with his PC. Then, of course, in came Grid Jokes. He is stepping into the car this time. Arseno stepping in for Formula Car, who's still yet to have his first appearance in the F1 Creator Series this season. Arseno in the Sauber alongside F1 Alex, who also had a bit of a smashing time last time out, causing a safety car of his own back at Kota last week. Meraki went close to race victory last week as well. He's got T. George 1570 joining him at Red Bull Racing as well. And that concludes the drivers that are stepping up for our mainstays here tonight. So a very diverse grid, and we talk about how the grid's going to line up after race 1 for race 2. Opportunities for perhaps those we don't expect at the head of the order here, TK.
Yeah, it's going to really flip some drivers on their heads. I mean, we've seen in previous races, and let alone previous seasons as well, how powerful reservists can be stepping into one of the cars. They sometimes cause a little bit of carnage, but sometimes they can also come in and put in a fantastic performance for the teams.
Yeah, and obviously, folks, if you're not familiar with how things work, first and foremost, welcome to all the viewers here, whether you're tuned in on YouTube or whether you're tuned in on Twitch. You might be tuned in on Twitter as well, or X as it's now known as well. Wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for joining us. And a little reminder as to the format we're running tonight. The double header, short qualifying, 250% races, second race grid comprising of a race 1 result in reverse. So plenty of excitement, plenty of opportunity. There is Zafso, the season 1 champion, 2 wins against his name through the entirety of the Creator Series with 10 podiums out of 87 starts and 8 retirements. He'd be hoping not to put one in that far right column, instead putting one in the far left, and of course lining up alongside Alex Gillen, a formidable partnership that we arguably didn't see enough of in last week's race, really, I would say.
I wouldn't say so. They had the opportunity to work together as a team. Quite often you found Gillen in opportunities where he might have been at the front of the grid or leading the pack, and that's where he really could have benefited from that teammate situation. And I think it hasn't come to him as much as he would have liked to, Kota. Are we going to see something different at Monza? I mean, even at Imola, when we head there in a few moments' time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be an interesting track for them to obviously challenge. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's always a challenge in the F1 Creator Series, especially when you factor in wildcards. Of course, we've got certain rules that have come into play. You know, drivers can only really don the softs and the mediums. We don't allow the hards anymore unless it comes in via wildcard. Of course, we're talking also about points that can be gained through gaining Inter's pole as well. Remember, we have that running until the 11:59 mark before then heading into the faster tyres, where we'll see the softs venture out. Whether we'll see that here at Monza is another matter altogether, because of course the rain is still going to continue tumbling down. Blackmere still at the top of the order, still yet to register his first time, but Zafso, I'm sure, will look to take that away with the initial time of a 1:29.107, but purple sectors flying up all over the place. That guy Vince being one of them, and does go fastest by 1.1 seconds. So already that delta cascading downwards. Also further back, Infratic going purple in that first sector, but that's just been stolen by Rastin Chai. Let's see where Fabio goes, though. Can he topple that guy Vince? No. Only 35,000 so between them. More cars coming across as well, but all eyes on Rastin Chai. Alex Gillen purple as well in that middle sector. So Gillen will come across the line first, I believe you'd fathom, as he now makes his way around the Curva Alboreto. Grid jokes with a very nice lap, a 1:27.827. That guy Vince remains in second place. We got Gillen now about to come up towards the line. He goes first fastest, and that is an incredible over 7 1/4 tenths faster than Grid Jokes, now down into second place. So still continuous improvements here, TK.
Certainly is. Razin Chai's gone fastest in the second sector. Keep an eye as well on GB, who looks to have gone for a second lap purple in the first sector for the Aston Martin driver. I'm keeping an eye on Razin, though, as he runs up towards the line, trying to displace Alex Gillen, and does so by nearly 0.3 of a second. Fantastic opening lap for Razin Chai, and that could be right at the death.
It could be indeed. And bear in mind, we've only got mere moments before the Inter's pole comes to an end. I have to clarify whether that rule, of course, will stay the same if you are wearing Inters right through the session. I'd imagine it would anyway, regardless. But here at this point, as we now watch GB make his way through towards the line as well, goes second fastest, and he registers the purple first sector as well. So there are 3 different drivers with purple sectors. Formula Karim goes purple of all again. Back again after a sensational performance in qualifying last week to take his very first pole position in the F1 Creator Series, but Meraki steals it away by nearly 0.3 of a second. A marvellous lap there for Meraki, fighting back straight away. Different colours this time. It may be blue, but it's Red Bull blue and not Williams blue this season.
Now, interesting thing to note here, look at the time at the top left. Inter's pole went to Razin. Formula Karim missed out by 11 seconds getting up towards the lines. The bonus point in that first 6 minutes has gone the way of Enstone.
Yeah, it definitely has. It's gone the way of the Enstone team. So there we have it. Incredible. Well done, Rastin Chai, on that one. We still have more cars, though, yet to cross the line. Hayden von der Gullis, as you can see down the very tail end of the order. Of course, currently still yet to register his first lap. He's on an outlap right now. We've got more cars coming across the line. Scott Taylor now going into second fastest. Definitely looks like that rain is starting to clear away quite a bit, so expect the lap times to start kicking up a notch or two. We have got purple sectors still rampantly rising. That guy Vince purple in the first 2 sectors, 27.893 in sector 1, and he's just followed up with a 28.795. He's got a sea of cars around him. Opportunity to utilise the slipstream, utilise every which way, every bit of power that Aston Martin has, and the first 1:25 of the session, a whole second faster than Meraki, the former champion here in the Creator Series, unseated by that guy Vince.
Beautiful lap from Vince there. Rain has stopped on track. That's what's going to allow the extra grip on these tyres now. But I think the age-old question could be starting to appear for a few of our drivers. When is the opportunity to switch to slicks? And there we go, DRS enabled. Surely now we'll see the soft tyres out in qualifying.
Yeah, this is going to get very furious indeed. Lolinoba, on his return, he's got intermediate tyres on. He is the Season 7 F2 champion, and he arrives in as well. He's already managed to land 11 races in this series. This is his 12th appearance in the F1 Creator Series. Now making his way around Curva Alboreto, looking to feather that throttle here for the Haas and then power down this long straight. Can he convert these initial purple sectors into a P1 ahead of that guy Vince? Yes, he can. And we now dip into the 124s for the first time in this session. That guy Vince, he is joined on the 125s by T. George 1570, but we're still going to continue to persist to see these lap deltas crash downwards as the track dries up.
Certainly are. I'm waiting to see who's going to be the first driver to set a lap on the soft tyre. It's either going to be Alex Gillen or Nogueira Safso jumping up, going 2.8 seconds quicker up to P2. And that's going to be a fantastic starting position for himself. But he's now got to get in, get a fresh set of slick tyres on and go again if he wants to try and maintain that.
Yeah, certainly does. 8 minutes and 50 still to run as we now await more and more drivers now started to don that soft tyre. Nogueira, who has got a little bit of a habit for qualifying relatively well. His one-lap pace is vastly significant, and obviously with Ferrari lined up alongside in Fratic and his prior occasions on visiting the Creator Series. He was a reserve in Season 4, impressed back then, and then he joined Alfa Romeo from Season 5 and now sees himself as part of the Ferrari outfit alongside in Fratic. Keep your eyes on Nogueira. He can easily cause a stir. Has actually managed to land 4 pole positions under his name in the F1 Creator Series and has notched together 5 podiums as well. So if he's up at the top, arguably one driver, probably the most underrated driver, the dark horse, I would say, in this championship.
I'd say so, and now he's in that all-Portuguese lineup, himself and Infratic, both at Ferrari. It's going to feel like a new beginnings for the Ferrari team come this season. I think once they find their feet, once they find that communication, there could be no stopping the prancing horses.
No, not at all. Safso now coming up towards the line 2, goes fastest this time, 1:22.535. So that is the Racing Bull now etching its way to the top, as it once was in Season 1. We haven't seen it back there since, not for a championship anyway, but Safso could easily turn that around. Has got a very capable teammate alongside him by the name of Alex Gillen as well. That's 2 RBs in the top 10. Nogueira incoming now, and he is purple in that middle sector, so he's looking to try and bring down the delta upon Safso and enlist a Ferrari up at the very top of your screen. And yes, the first 1:19, and that is a huge lap, a monster lap there from Nogueira. Look at the gains, 3.2 between P1 and P2, and if that isn't an advert for the soft tyre, I don't know what is. And we're going to start seeing more and more of these deltas come down now. Alex Gillen, the next one to watch. He is purple in the first sector. He's green in the second, as you'd expect. It's all about the all-important third sector, and he has got traffic to try and deal with. He's got a McLaren right in front of him here as well. That belongs to Nick Flies as he heads towards the line. Gillen flies into P1 by just over 200ths of a second.
It's a good lap from Gillen, but he had a little mistake coming out of the Ascari chicane, and then he got blocked on the run up to Parabolica, forced onto the grass by a weaving Haas car. I think he'll have a few comments to make about that when we get into the post-qualifying scenario, but I think there's more time left in that Gillen tank.
Yeah, definitely think so. There's more in the tank, I think, for various drivers. Black Mirror, of course, finding a little bit of time, but he's still yet to really put his first laps on the board. And Timothée Marduk also not yet fielding a lap time, of course. Remember, last week's race winner returning again. He's got company as well. His teammate, no less, Grid Jokes, has already landed a P12 time. But remember, his lap was set very early on and on the intermediate tyres. But now on the softs, an opportunity to plough even more time on the table here. We've still got 5 minutes to go, 5 3/4. He goes fastest though this time, a first 1:18.718. They still persist to come down. Grid Jokes dropping Alex Gillen off the top of the classification. And now Hayden van der Gullis, who had a tough time, certainly in qualifying last week, returning well, did well, in fact, in the race, only enough for 13th fastest. Again, a poor one-lap visit for Hayden van der Gullis.
Yeah, not what you'd like to see for the potential Dutchman. Keeping an eye on F1 Alex. who went purple in the first sector, wasn't necessarily improving in the second. That's only good enough for 5th place as he comes across that timing beam. But a very good result for F1 Alex, of course, top scorer in the F2 Creator Series once you tally up his appearances over the course of the seasons. However, yet to score any points in his 5 appearances so far in the F1 Creator Series.
Yeah, very nearly rear-ending his car around as well. In fact, he's going to try and do a donut, I think, coming out of the Rettifilia chicane and moving onto the grass. Going to have to try and self-right himself. But yeah, still chasing a first podium and by consequence a first win as well in this championship. Still yet to score a top 10 either. So this could be a big day for him. We've got Arsenault also heading down through towards Turn 1, and there's a car park of Papaya heading down in towards the Rettifilia chicane. So that's Nick Flies and teammate Formula Karim, who is out on his soft tyre flying lap. Now expect him to be at the very top as well, just based on sheer reputation from what we saw last time out at Texas. There's Ricky 03, forgetting about him slightly as well. Of course, he packs a punch over one lap and also through a race. Arguably also another driver we could have seen at the top. Tiamat Marduk, personal improvements as you'd expect. No time set yet. He's going to look to find something himself, maybe to push himself to the front end. That is a poor lap, a 1:37.776. I wonder whether he encountered traffic, much like he has now.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot to try and do here. I wonder if he took that as a recharge opportunity. Just looking down at his wheel there at the bottom side of your screen, you can see him burning the battery as he heads through the Curva Grande. He obviously took one lap, took it as an opportunity to refresh and recharge after that earlier invalidation, and now he's going for vengeance after that initial bad lap.
Yeah, not a great lap to start, but he can go again. He's still got time, 3 minutes and 20. Of course, he doesn't want to dally. It's all about trying to... And look at this. He isn't half-sending it now. 26.038 in the first sector. A fantastic first sector for Tiamat Marduk, and he's gone purple. So, our race winner from last week seemingly finding his feet yet again, this time in Monza, Italian Grand Prix territory, as he now flies through the Ascari chicane. He's purple in that middle sector as well. So, really bringing his best at the very death here in this short qualifying session that we're bringing you here tonight in this double header that could yet set the tone for further Tiamat Marduk success. Can he drop that 137 into 118 territory? Can it be pole? Can he take it from Grid Jokes? No, but the Mercedes wall is out nonetheless. A poor third sector in comparison to his first two, but enough to make it a double Mercedes dance up at the top here in qualifying.
Beautiful lap from Tiamat Marduk. Mercedes 1-2 lockout. How long has it been since we've seen that, not only in the virtual world, but in the real world as well? Tiamat Marduk will have the opportunity to benefit from Grid Jokes here, down into turn 1, and I wonder if there's going to be an opportunity to benefit from the slipstream as well as they progress through the first lap.
Well, we'll soon find out. That guy Vid's coming into the box. Formula Karim, though, going purple in the first sector, and also personal improvement in the second as well. So, Karim with a chance to raise the stakes from 15th to the top. Can he top all Grid Jokes? No! Only enough for third fastest, but joins the two up at the front in the 118s. It's getting really tight. Now up at the front, Ricky 03's out on an outlap. So's Alex Gillen, Noiguera, F1 Alex, Safso, Lolinoba, Scott Taylor, Infratic, Blackmere. We have got both former Formula 2 champions. In fact, I tell you what, we got several former F1 Creator Series champions all mashing together for an opportunity at pole position, but currently it's being held by Grid Jokes up at the top. But F1 Alex, he'll be looking to grab his first. He's got every chance, and you never know, only a couple of sectors left to run. He could yet see himself further up in this top 10.
Certainly could indeed. He's got an opportunity here to try and weave, get some heat in towards his tyres. More importantly, GB's just stolen away 4th place there from Ricky 03. Good lap from the Aston Martin. I think he would have been hoping for more as the Williams goes into the back of him.
Absolutely extraordinary. Just a misjudgment there by the looks of it. Hayden von der Gullis making contact there, and it would seem, I think that's GB who he met, and certainly that's not going to go down well with the man from Aston Martin. This is his first appearance in this series championship. Did not compete in our last round at Austin, Texas. Tiamat Marduk retires. He will not be taking pole. here in this opening race of the day. Grid Joke still holds it for now. Alex Gillen, though, coming up towards the line to commence yet another lap. Finds more time, though, his side. He's only 5/10 of a second, nearly 6/10 away from Grid Jokes at the very top. 25 seconds remain in the session. Nick Flies about to come up towards the line as well. Where can he go in his McLaren? 12th fastest there for Nick Flies. Not quite flying into the top 10, though. However, there are plenty of drivers that are out on laps, and a personal best and a fastest first sector here as well for the Haas of Scott Taylor, who goes 5th fastest. Here comes Grid Jokes. Can he go faster again? Yes! A 1:18.7. Can it be top, though? Infratic looking to improve. He needs to majorly. 12th fastest for the Ferrari as he now bursts down the long straight. Here comes GB, currently 4th. He won't set another time. His teammate might, though. That guy Vince, no, can't go higher than P11. But what about Ricky 03 as he now makes his way down the straight in towards Alboreto? Racing Chai calls it a day. We got more cars coming across the line. Lolinoba, former F2 champ, 8th place here in this classification. Anyone else? Noiguera, great over one lap. Not quite good enough, though, for pole. 84 thousandths off the top. Here comes Ricky 03 as well. Can he steal it? No, only enough for 6th place.
Still more drivers coming across the line. Gillen can't improve. Neither can his teammate. Everyone else coming across the line at the moment. Both kick sour as Arsenault goes up to P6. F1 Alex can't improve from P16. The only last driver now to try and cross the line will be Scott Taylor, who set his lap previously, and Meraki as well, as he comes around the Parabolica corner.
Yeah, and obviously Meraki still 7.6 down on Delta. He could find something massive here, but only enough for 10th place. Extraordinary scenes looking ahead to our first race of the day. Former champions not quite showing their very best. Meraki, you'd expect to see at the front. Also Alex Gillen. Lolinoba to a certain degree. That guy Vince as well, who scored regular top 10s in his time here. Of course, Zafso, a former champion. Many of them starting from the bottom end of the classification. The bottom 10, I should say. But there's Noiguera, second fastest. I said watch him over one lap. He is absolutely sensational. His raw pace is brilliant. He gets rather unlucky on the odd occasion. Strategy doesn't always go his way, but he's got a great chance now once again, starting on the front row. But it's all about the sister Mercedes to Tiamat Marduk. It's Grid Jokes on pole ahead of race 1.
It'll be a fantastic drive for the Mercedes boys. Tiamat Marduk starting just one position behind his team, or one grid slot behind his teammate. He'll have that toe into turn 1, and I wonder if we'll see an opportunity. But just to run down your grid order completely, Grid Joke starts from pole. Noguera alongside him in P2. Tiamat Marduk, Formula Karim, GB, Arseno, Ricky 03, Scott Taylor, Razin Chai, and Meraki round out your top 10. Lolinoba, Alex Gillen, Dat Guy Vince, Safso, T George, Infratic, F1 Alex, Nick Flies, Hayden Von der Gullis, and Blackmere rounding out your complete grid order.
Yeah, fabulous display from all of them. Blackmere, unfortunately, not setting a lap at all in his first appearance here for Alpine this season. Obviously, alongside Racing ahead of the race. We do, of course, have racing action to bring you very shortly, folks. But what can we take from qualifying here at the end of the day, Tom? We have got several drivers that we probably would have expected at the top, not featuring in that top 10. A lot of them finishing in P10 or below. Obviously, I think Noiguera's got a great chance. Tiamat Marduk back again, though. He, despite retiring perhaps a little earlier than some of the others towards the end, obviously felt that he had left everything he needed to out on track. He's still in touch and distance, P3, and he's got a very capable Formula Karim lining up on the second row alongside him.
He certainly does, and I don't think it was a case of retiring a little bit early, maybe taking that almost like banter retire, kind of going early. I think it was a case that he mistimed his qualifying runs. With the rain starting at the front, the dry tyres weren't necessarily coming out at the right time he wanted. And of course, he set that fast lap with about 3 minutes to spare, which wasn't enough to go out again, benefit from the full rubbered-in track. And that's where he's maybe lost out a little bit tonight. Yeah,
absolutely right. I mean, if we look back at Grid Jokes as well, first appearance, obviously, last week in the Creator Series, not aligned to any specific team, but this being his first pole position here in the F1 Creator Series as well. So credit to him. And that's the second time we've seen that this season alone, because Formula Karim grabbed his first pole last week. This time it's the turn of Grid Jokes. Is this going to be a trend we start to see through the course of this season? The new guys, the new blood coming in here and looking to take down some of the old heads that we have had here since season 1.
I'd love to see it. I always say the changing of the guard is quite often a good one. You see the new drivers coming in They're young, they're hungry, they want every single thing that's handed to them, and quite often they'll beat the old guard at their own game, and that's what we've seen in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, big question obviously to you guys in the live chat. Who do you think is going to take victory when we head to racing action at Monza? In fact, they're just about to head around on the formation lap as we get underway here at Monza already. The usual kerfuffle as they look to get themselves off the line. A few of the front runners, I think Grid Joke's getting off a little bit slowly. Formula Karim seemed very keen to jump at the start. Already we're seeing crashes as well further back as some of the cars get, should we say, adjusted to the wet weather once again. GB68 and Tim Malik certainly getting disqualified right at the start. So this will hamper them in terms of getting those tyres warmed up, Tom.
It certainly will. You will start with bone-cold tyres, as that is Nick Fly's going corroding into the Williams of Hayden von der Gullis, who gets reset rather raptly. Blackmere getting involved as well. Meraki's also been reset back to the grid. So I think at the moment, about 20% of the grid will be starting on absolutely cold tyres. That's the Alpine there. I'm going to assume of Razin Chai getting all kind of loose. Was that his teammate?
You would not think that those are 4 of the most experienced drivers in the Creator Series. All 4 of them binning it already in the formation lap, disqualified from the formation lap, and will be on cold tyres, TK.
I think all of the tyres at the moment are going to be cold regardless. Look how heavy the rain is coming down here at Monza. But maybe they're going to be freezing temperatures. That's how cold they're going to be sat on that grid for probably about 2-3 minutes at this rate, whilst everybody else completes their slow parade lap of the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely right. Obviously, whilst we do only run the softs and the mediums in a general dry race that we have in the F1 Creator Series, obviously they won't be donning them this time because we are in torrential wet conditions. Obviously, Inters will be the tyre on show here this time around. Hayden van der Gullis, who we're currently seeing at the bottom right of your screen, as you can see in the graphic, he has got his helmet on. And full commitment. This might explain the spin that we saw earlier on.
I saw a load of comments in the live chat just going, show Hayden's cam, show Hayden, just Hayden. And I switched the camera on and we just see him there in a helmet. And I hope he's going to stay that on for the entire race duration here.
He's taken the immersion to a whole new level. That is extraordinary and fabulous commitment from Hayden von der Gullis. The marshals waving those green flags still, but eventually we will have all the cars lined up onto the grid. You can just see the final few now starting to move themselves to the back. Blackmere will be the last of the cars to settle up onto the grid. There he is as we ride on board with him now. Still the rain cascading downwards, so no concerns regarding the usage of slick tyres, at least for now, but we always know that in the Creator Series, conditions can change rather abruptly as we now await the lights. And all 5 lights are indeed lit. And it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. Noiguera doesn't get the best of launches. Grid Jokes gets away very sharply. Further back, Formula Karim also getting a decent run. Arsenault looking to run side by side, but look at the fight back here from Noiguera, sending the Ferrari up the inside of the Rettifilio and takes the lead of the race as they all come through. The Rettifilio chicane, there's a Haas going off there deep as well. I think that was Lolinoba just taking the off track and a spinner at the back, and what a surprise. It's Hayden von der Gullis, helmet and all. He's right at the tail end of the field.
It was actually his teammate Riccio 3 who got sent around, but Lolinoba was the driver in the Haas that's sent to the escape road in the first corner. Formula Karim having to take to this escape road as we head in towards the first chicane. There is carnage here in Monza as the rain continues to pour down.
Still continues to come down. Noiguera, though, settling himself up at the very front. Grid Jokes in second. GB also managing to hold on to that 3rd place to move up the inside here for Razin Chai as he now storms into 6th place. Arsenault running a little wide coming through the Lesmo. Just look at this gap starting to formulate. GB 1.2 seconds behind Grid Jokes. Obviously no concerns with regards to DRS. It's not active at this point, but still at the very end of the day you won't have that slipstream, or certainly you'll have a lack of slipstream, and you will be fodder for those behind you. Formula Karim, not a slouch when it comes to pace.
I have absolutely no idea how any of our drivers are seeing anything in these conditions. Look at the spray that our Formula 1 cars are throwing up in the air. You can barely see down, all the way down to Ascari, let alone in front of your face. Formula Karim, though, has got an amazing opportunity out of Parabolica, makes the move on GB68 and gets 3rd place back.
Yeah, certainly does. Karim showing his true pace yet again. Has still got a great chance of taking a possible first win of the campaign. 4 top 10s going his way, and obviously managing to pull off an incredible performance last time out as well. I should say 5 top 10s. He made it with 4 prior Texas last time out. Almost a crime that he didn't get a podium, to be quite honest, but you never know. Today could be his day. F1 Alex moving up to 17th as well, just ahead of Blackmere. We got Lolinoba swapping with his teammate Scott Taylor on the run out of Curva Grande in towards the Rogier as they now resume through on lap 2 of 27. A shorter distance over a race than usual, but remember, we've got 2 of these races to bring you a reverse grid from this race result as we head to Imola for race 2 later on.
Yeah, don't forget as well, if you get disqualified in this race, you start from the back. DNFs will start from the front, so there's benefit there. I don't want to say benefit to DNFing from this race, but you have to maybe take into consideration we may see some retirements at the end of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, you never know. Absolutely right. Of course, with the weather coming down, I'd imagine we might see a few. Obviously, keeping it together on a track like Monza, especially through these sharp and nippy chicanes where traction is greatly reduced when you go over the curves, especially around Ascari. It's very easy for a car to lose itself. Meraki moving past his teammate though. T. George 1.570 for that 12th spot. Racing Chai though also looking to make moves of his own, looking to try and take down last week's race winner Tiamat Marduk as Noiguera initially set the fastest lap of the race. Formula Krim took it back wheel to wheel now between Chai and Tiamat Marduk, and Racing Chai ever on the move. 5th place now and looking to close up to the back of GB as now Zafso moves ahead of Scott Taylor as well. A lot of tussling in that midway point in the classification. They're all closed up together on the run out to the Rettifilio. Curva Grande to come, but Noiguera still leads out in front. Karim in 3rd. He's 1.6 now behind. Remember, GB was 1.2 at the very start of the race.
I think this could be a differentiation of tyres that we're starting to see. Our front 2 starting on the full wets. The drivers behind them, a considerable number of them, on the intermediates. They will have the race handed to them as we're expecting the rain to ease in the next 5 or so minutes. But at the moment, the full wet seem to be the tyres that are working the best for the drivers in front. The longevity, though, is what we're going to be questioning.
Well, I remember in PSGL last season, Jarno Opmeer going all the way on wet weather tyres at Silverstone, and he wasn't the only one. Declan Barrett also was thinking about using the same strategy. Obviously, they opted for a tyre change. Tom Manley as well did exactly the same. It was a heroic drive from Jarno Opmeer, brought it back and secured a podium as well, despite those wet tyres being excessively worn right towards the latter stages of that race. But we'll see whether any of the drivers opt for that same should we say that same strat this time, but I'd imagine a few of them are probably likely to come into the box, especially those on the Inters, as we now watch them burst down this long straight again. Karim, fastest lap this time once more, 1.5 seconds still though away from grid jokes. Needs to really dip into that delta to give himself a chance of perhaps hustling with the top 2 in the order. We've got Scott Taylor rushing down through towards turn 1. He is met by Meraki as they look to fight over that P11 place. And it looks like the Red Bull might have succeeded in toppling Taylor and moving into 11th.
Yeah, beautiful move from Meraki. Used the braking zone to his advantage. And I think Scott's slightly starting to struggle as we find ourselves in the wet conditions. Obviously, fairly a new driver. I think we can say he's not a rookie by any means, but new in terms of experience compared to a few of our other drivers here, and the wet weather experience certainly seems to be lacking compared to some of our veterans.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, Tiamat Marduk having a little fall from grace. Remember, started on the second row of the grid, has since fallen down to 6th, but Racing Chai has obviously moved up, and also you've got to factor in GB's very successful rise, as well as he hustles down the Seraglio straight. He's got Formula Karim still ahead of him here. Remember, Karim taking that 3rd place, relieving GB of that earlier on. GB made his 6th appearance to round out Season 8, finishing P2 to secure the Constructors' Championship alongside that guy Vince. Of course, those two reunited again this season in a bid to make it 3 in a row for the Aston Martin team this season.
Yeah, it's a beautiful partnership all throughout last season. They worked well together. I appreciate there weren't many opportunities where the two teammates actually saw each other on track through illness and other unexpected absences, but they worked together with the reserves. I think that's worth bearing in mind, that came in, week out, and that's what's really helped secure Aston Martin with that Constructors' Championship.
No questions as to Tiamat Marduk's pace. There is improvements on show. Tiamat Marduk initially setting the fastest lap, taking it away from Racing Chai. It was then stolen again by Alex Gillen in 10th place right now. Obviously, he's with his teammate Zasso, so the two RBs working together at this moment in time, as many others are as well. We saw a little bit of that from the Hasses earlier on. There's one team that needs to work together to succeed. It's Williams. Whether this might be a plan, though, for the two Williams is to start at the front for our next race. I do wonder whether they're playing those games here. Hayden von der Gullis perhaps looking for that pole, or at the very least front row position when we head to Imola for our second race.
I mean, if I know anything about Hayden Gullis, it's do not count out what he's thinking about. He thinks not one, not two, maybe 7 steps ahead of where everybody else is thinking at the moment. Yes, he takes the initial hit here in Monza, but he gets a huge advantage when it comes to the race in Imola. He'll be at the front of the grid, and to quote Will Buxton, if you're ahead of all other 19 drivers, you're winning the race.
That's a heroic quote right there. Thank you very much, TK, for that one. As we now watch the next through the Ascari chicane. Race control giving a 3-second time penalty to T. George 1570. So that's going to drop him further down the order. And given where the deltas stack, it means he will miss out on some crucial points. Alex Gillen up the inside of Arsenault as well, coming through Curva Alboreto as they now fly down the long straight. Once again, he's trying to tag onto the back of Lolinoba, who's 2 seconds behind. Wheel to wheel now as Grid Jokes makes contact up at the front. Goodness me, they were fighting over the race lead. And as a consequence, oh my goodness, Karim moves into the front now, takes an unbelievable advantage on the run in towards the Rettifilio, took full advantage of Grid Jokes' mistake, coming together with Noiguera, and Karim was there, ready to pounce in his Papaya McLaren. He leads here at Monza.
I'm trying to figure out what exactly went on there. It looked like one driver tried to cut the other off. GB, though, trying to take advantage as well, in towards the chicane. Inside line becomes the outside line. The Ferrari has to yield, and yield he does, but he's gone off into the runoff zone, and that's Noiguera round.
The illustration of Noiguera's issues. Qualifies exceptionally well, but obviously misfortune plays its part, and Noiguera has been toppled from the top into the second half of the classification. That is extraordinary. And now Tim Marduk has now managed to find himself right in this head honcho battle for a podium place yet again, and his teammate Grid Jokes gladly obliges, allows him to move on through in a bid to try and close up to the back of GB. Has Formula Karim, though, been handed this race on a plate?
I think he could have been. Look at the gap between himself and GB starting to increase over the course of a lap. Razin Jai getting past Grid Jokes to maintain P4 position. But we spoke at the start of the broadcast just sometimes how luck falls in the lap of Ben Daly, and it happened again. He's gone from P6 to P3 in the matter of 3 corners.
I do wonder whether there's going to be some conversations between Grid Jokes and Noiguera after this race. It very much got far too close. It's a long run down through towards turn 1, and it was certainly a very tight moment. One driver coming off the worst in the initial, that of course being Grid Jokes. He lost out painfully. Noiguera just losing his spot to Formula Karim, but eventually would pay the price as well later on after tussling with GB coming into the Roger chicane. Truly a phenomenal moment in lap 6, but as they now settle down, it's Formula Karim at the very head of the order now. 1.6 seconds becomes 1.5 though. GB put in the work in, though over the last lap Karim was well over a second faster than GB in that last lap. In fact, Karim holds the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:29.327. Blackmere, though, notching together a purple first sector on this lap himself. So it's still very much an open book. More speed, more pace can be found across this grid order.
Yep, lots still to happen. Safso's the first driver in towards the pit lane, decided to take off his used wet tyres, has chosen fresh intermediates until the end of the race. But I have got word from our weather channel, from our weather person over in the studio. Rain is expected to stop in the next 8 minutes.
Extraordinary. So we could, yes, see another twist. That might, unfortunately, cripple Zafso in forcing him to make another stop should we go to dry tyres. As we now take a look at this now. Gillen with the fastest lap of his own. Little bit of a moment with Arsenault and Infratic coming together. Infratic moving up to 11th, but he might lose out with the toe on the run down towards turn 1. Lolinoba defending a little bit from Grid Jokes. Alex Gillen now up to 5th as well as we watch Infratic move ahead of Scott Taylor, getting the run both on Arsenault and Taylor to take that P10. Obviously using that slipstream as well to sort of aid his movement in moving into that top 10 mark in the classification. Formula Karim, though, whilst he has the lead, GB, as I said before, has been working hard to reduce that delta deficit, and GB has gone fastest in the first sector again. 28.190 in the last lap. GB was in fact 6 tenths faster than Formula Karim in lap 7.
Yeah, 6 tenths faster, over 2 tenths faster in the first sector of this lap alone. GB is on absolute skates at the moment, and he's proving why he's catching up to the McLaren in front, and in doing so, he's dropping away from Timo Mardik behind. Meraki further back has got past Grid Jokes as well, who's still on the wet tyre in that Mercedes, seems to be dropping through the field as the water has rapidly cleared from this race circuit.
Yeah, I mean, how quickly now do they start considering, well, maybe we need to jump onto the slick tyres? I mean, this is something they're going to have to process. We could yet see the mediums make an appearance. They'll want to try and take these as far as they can, because making the mediums last around this track is going to be another mission altogether. The rain's still falling, though, so it's not a concern right now, but you can very plainly see that conditions are improving. Purple lap, though, for GB68, managing to marshal in a 1:27.994, and that is considerably quicker than Formula Karim in front and in control. But GB could yet be all set to take this away from him, and should DRS become available, it will make GB's job ever the easier, obviously, at this stage, because he's currently settled behind Karim and can make use of it when he so needs it. As they now make their way through the Rogier, the Aston Martin now plugged into the back of the Papaya McLaren. Remember, GB securing his very first Creator Series win not too long ago, 21 podiums against his name. It was a long journey towards that very first victory, and he had his chances. I hark back to Vegas a long time ago, where he had his chance coming through the final chicane, but this time looking at a potential victory, this time again to make it 2 wins in the Creator Series as they fly through Ascari. And I get the sense that Karim's number could be up, but we still have a long race to go.
Certainly do indeed. GB's just sitting patiently. He's not burning his battery. He doesn't want to be in the lead of the race at the moment. I think that's a sensible decision. He knows, well, I'm pretty sure he's aware that the rain's going to be ending in the next 5 minutes. He can sit there, wait for DRS to become enabled, and essentially play pit chicken with Formula Karim. Who's going to dive in first? Who goes for that extra lap?
Well, we'll soon find out. Lap 10 of 27. Very soon to become lap 11, and so on. It's a very, very fast lap here around the Monza circuit, the Temple of Speed as it's so known. Rasin Chai now moving ahead of Tiamat Marduk into 3rd place. 1.2 though behind GB. Obviously Rasin Chai can't afford to remain where he is if to get the DRS when of course conditions do turn the drier later on. Obviously we still have 17 or so laps to go here in this race, but just look at the gap now between Karim and GB. GB just managing this race at this point, just tracking the Papaya McLaren at the head. Alex Gillen 1.2 behind Tiamat Marduk as well, so he's coming into this race. The top 5 fight now is starting to come to fruition, and many of the big players that we saw battling at Texas last week are now coming into play this time at Monza. Almost a carbon copy, Tom.
Almost certainly. I think we've seen it time and time again. The story's been written, told and retold so many times here in the F1 Creator Series that it's starting to sound like a not original work anymore. But every single time our drivers hit a racetrack, whether that be a Monza, whether that be a Monte Carlo, that roll of the dice happens, a little bit of ingenious happens, and sometimes a random result happens.
Well, I can tell you one thing, we have not had an F2 champion become an F1 Creator Series champion, but Formula Karim could be the one to make that happen. Of course, won it in its final rendition. Of course, the last time we saw the F2 championship in the Creator Series, it was won by Formula Karim. But GB, who briefly took the fastest lap of the race, now opens up the door here on Formula Karim and drops him into 2nd. It's GB68 who moves up into 1st place. On the outset now of Rettifilio, he will continue and look to rise onwards as now conditions start to improve around the Temple of Speed.
Track's gripping up, weather is moving away, only a couple of minutes remaining of this rain if we believe what we're told, and GB and the Aston Martin can start to try to pull away. He's doing that hand over fist, he's making a couple of tenths every single corner by the looks of it, but I wonder how much battery each of our drivers has left in reserve. Can Karim afford to fight in the latter stages of this rain-induced section?
Yeah, you do wonder whether he's better off just holding his own and waiting it out and just simply doing what GB did to him in the laps prior. Just maintain the pace and just take the fight on the final remaining laps of the race. We're going to be in for a blockbuster finale, though, when we head into those dying laps later on. We have seen upsets. We very nearly saw another one. Karim on rails coming through Ascari as the wheel was twisted, jumping and hopping over the curbs, coming through that very, very fast-paced section coming through turns 8, 9 and 10. Like I said, a very fast-flowing circuit here. The road course that's existed with this current layout since 2010. This circuit opened up back in 1922. We've seen many historic races in the past. Here, the Italian Grand Prix, long hailed to be here at the Temple of Speed, as now Formula Karim looks to get a little closer to GB. Happy to wait in behind, though, despite GB just flashing that rear light on the back of his car. Obviously a sense that he's recharging the battery. He is not concerned about losing the lead. Formula Karim's not concerned about gaining the lead, as we see our first, should we say, official pit stops. Could this be slick tyres as Grid Jokes comes in? What's he on? That looks like mediums to me. Is that mediums?
Yeah, mediums. Rain has stopped. You can see on the halos, if we ride on board with Formula Karim, there is no rain falling at the moment. The track will stay damp for probably the next lap and a half, but rain is not going to fall anymore. You can see GB, Formula Karim and every driver behind them starting to suffer already as these tyres potentially begin to overheat.
Yeah, medium tyres now starting to mark their first appearances out on track, and I can tell you that currently our bottom 5 in the classification, all of them are on medium compound tyres. So there we have it. And like I said to you before, Sasso was forced to do an extra stop. Remember, he swapped onto those intermediate tyres earlier on. That's going to cost him a huge amount of time, because now he's had to pit again to move on to a slick compound. So he's now dropped onto the medium tyre as well, as we now keep our eyes peeled towards the front end. Is anyone else going to decide to come in? Formula Karim taking a very shallow line coming through Alboreto, and that does lead to a pit stop of his own. So he's the first from the front to come in and opt for a dry tyre. Alex Gillen joins him as well. That guy Vince doing the same.
Timo Marduk's got the best of Razin Chai. He had a beautiful run out of Parabolica, but the big story at the moment, an emphatic 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. He just failed to get the Ferrari slowed down enough, and he's violated the director's guidelines and gone too fast as he crossed that beam.
Yep, too fast, and unfortunately left too little too late to slow down. Coming into the box, you still see those rear ends just skipping out on the cars as well. GB, though, doing a great job of marshalling a 1 second gap between he and Timo Marduk, though it is starting to creep downwards. Timo Marduk actually registering a purple first sector. This could be another Ben Daly masterclass here. Of course, the 27.644 in the first sector is purple. It's the fastest we've seen, and he is still on intermediate tyres. So there is still delta to find here on that wet weather tyre, and he's taken the purple second sector as well. So there is more pace in the pocket of Benjamin Daly, and DRS has now become enabled. Could this be the difference maker? Had Timo Marduk pulled a worldie again here in the Creator Series?
I think he would have wished for that DRS to be enabled slightly earlier. You don't get it on the run down towards Parabolica out of the Ascari chicane, so he'll be feeling rather lackluster at that opportunity. But in towards the pits now comes every single driver, as we expected. The DRS become enabled, the track has been declared dry, and now they can go for slick tyres until the end.
Yeah, they'll take the green wall tyre off now. This time they will set up the medium tyre. Now, where is Formula Karim at this moment in time? There he is, Randy Kerber Alboreto. We'd firmly expect him to take the lead of the race, or will he be under contest from GB, as now we see GB exiting the pit lane and he's being pursued by Timo Marduk. There's Karim as well, looking to move up alongside. There's going to be a wheel-to-wheel fight. No, there's not. Karim will retake the lead of the race here on lap 14. GB in second. Timo Marduk in the lead fight as well, has somehow, some way, after losing the initial places, fought his way back up to where he was before, second row of the grid position. Remember, he was on that row at the start of the race, but he's fought back to P3 again this time, and he's 1.5 away, though that could be an issue because he won't have the DRS, so he is vulnerable to Razin Chai in behind.
Yeah, what a battle we're about to have on our hands in the final few laps of this race. We've still got 13 to come, and as Formula Karim just showed us there, the curbs are still a little bit damp. The rear end of the McLaren starting to kick out, but GB's got to run. He's got the rear wing open, as we run down towards the Ascari chicane, almost certainly GB retakes the race lead with absolute ease here, but a battle further back. Could we going to see a dive from Alex Gillen? Overtakes in towards the Ascari chicane. Beautiful move from Alex Gillen.
Fantastic move from Alex Gillen coming through Ascari. That's exactly what he's capable of. And of course, we all know about the acclaimed history between Gillen and Timo Marduk. We've had many grand duels between the two in the past. The rivalry burned steep And we're now watching, well, certainly what could be a rivalry for the ages here as well. GB6 on a quest for a second race win in the Creator Series. Formula Karim looking to register his very first after he would feel probably having his last one robbed from him after the safety cars that we had in last week's race. As Tim Etmardik fights his way back into third, duking it out here with Rasin Chai and Alex Gillen. Surely they have to work together here, TK.
You'd almost certainly assume so. They want to try and bridge that gap to the front too. Make the duo that is up front a quintuplet, make it a five-way battle for the race lead. But at the moment, all they're doing is dropping further and further behind our race leaders.
Yeah, they are. They can't afford to keep duking it out like this. If they carry on, that delta's going to keep on pushing out. Remember, it was 1.5 when they came out of the pit lane. Well, it's 2.1 now, so they've lost time to where they were before. They can't afford to keep doing this if they want to be within, shall we say, within the opportunity of claiming a race win here at Monza. They need to get themselves close to the back of GB and Formula Karim. If you're Formula Karim and GB right now, you're going to play a clever game and effectively do what Karim did last week. Of course, he was working with the driver that was in front with him last time. They were obviously swapping the DRS. In fact, I think that was Alex Gillen last week. They were working together to try and bridge that delta gap just to try and protect their lead. Well, this time it's Formula Karim and GB doing it, and yet again a fastest lap here for Karim. It's paying off, and here comes GB to open the door. That guy Vince taking the fastest lap, but GB now out in front. Gillen swapping with Tim Etmardik. Rasin Chai moving up into third. They need to keep doing this, keep swapping for that DRS to bring that 2-second delta straight back down and give themselves a chance with DRS.
This is where Karim and GB have the advantage though. They've only got one car they need to get past to make this train work. Rasin Chai, Gillen, Tim Etmardik have now that guy Vince and even Lolly Noba in the picture. So they're a 4-wide train, or a 4-long train, shall I say. And it's going to take more effort to get past the car, then get back into a neat order before they hit a braking zone. They're at a disadvantage with the bigger the train becomes.
Yeah, they're starting to find something though, because Rasin Chai went purple in that first sector. It's just been stolen though by Noiguera down in 13th. But that delta now between Rasin Chai and Formula Karim is now dipped to within the 1.9. So we are... they're trying to find something at the very least, but it's just dashed out to the 2-second mark. It's going to be so hard to bridge that gap around the Temple of Speed, though. If you can get a good exit out of some of these really tight chicanes, it can make all the difference. GB68 and Formula Karim once again looking to test each other, heading through the latter stages, the final sector here around Monza, coming out of Kerber Alboreto and now rushing down the long straight once more. It's GB out in front, but this time it'll be Karim taking over up at the very front, and it's fastest lap now for Lolly Noba. It was briefly Alex Gillen, who now looks to move alongside Rasin Chai. Tim Etmardik down in 5th as well. They've got that guy Vince in behind. Lolly Noba making up a 4-car scrap, or should I say a 5-car scrap further back, as Meraki also looks to try and push his Red Bull closer to the action in a battle over that final podium place. But it's Karim now out in front, GB remaining within DRS, but look at that number. Gillen 1.7 away from the front two. It is creeping down, Tom.
It is creeping down indeed, hand over fist, and I think by the time we find ourselves probably on lap 2021, that's where we're going to start to see Gillen and co in striking range of our front two. It's going to be all important that GB and Karim try and regain the lead that they had. Anything over 2 seconds is probably safety at the moment, but they're slowly creeping outside of that, but they are recovering every now and then.
Yeah, Alex Gillen, one of the most successful drivers you'll see in the F1 Creator Series. It was actually a reserve driver back in Season 1, but then joined Alfa Romeo in Season 2. Is once again a reserve through Season 5. 19 wins in what has been 51 races for Gillen, and 30 podiums to boot as well. In terms of podium race win ratio to number of races, that is an impressive stat. And having only one championship under his locker it's quite impressive, and he actually won that championship as well, I believe, whilst he was a reserve as well in Season 3, as we now watch them head down through towards Turn 1. Rasin Chai moving up to third this time. 1.4 seconds now between Karim and Chai. It's getting closer between Ps2 and Ps3. This 2-car battle for the race win here at Monza could yet become a multi-car battle for the race win. Things are certainly starting to get a little bit fraught now in this quest for the Italian Grand Prix race victory. Let's see who's going to come out on top. A little bit of tyre smoke, though. Might be some gravel getting flicked up on the entry to Rogier.
I think if we're about to see a 7-way battle for race victory here this afternoon, I know I, for one, will start losing my mind as the drivers get closer and closer together. It's going to be an all-out war, an all-out scrap towards the line on that final lap. It's going to be incredible as we run through the next few laps. Formula Krim taking away and holding the race lead still from GB68, and the gap between Raz and Chai and second place is just teetering around that 1.5 second mark. They can't seem to break it down for longer than a couple of seconds.
Yeah, in fact, it was Season 2 where Alex Gillen won his championship. It was Tom who won it in Season 3. Alex Gillen actually winning it whilst he was with that Alfa Romeo setup, though I believe he did race for multiple different constructors through the course of that season nonetheless. As now we watch them sprint down towards turn 1 again. GB retaking the lead as well. Alex Gillen moving into third ahead of Rasin Chai. Timet Malik waiting in the wings as well. Just happy to remain where he is, content with his position right now. Big point still in the offing if he finishes where he does, but obviously would much rather see himself tussling for this race lead advantage, though, whilst he remains, content with that position, obviously not getting himself too mixed up in major fights. He can sort of conserve his energy and also at the same time the tyres.
Exactly, that's ideally what he'd be wanting to do, but the question that I'm going to try and portray across, Dadguy Vince at the moment is the only driver that can come to an aid of a teammate as we make our way through this Grand Prix. We're about to enter lap 20 of 27. 8 laps of racing to go. If Vince can try and support GB here, maybe act as a blocker if they're going for the constructors again, this could be a really interesting and technical fight as we approach the last few laps.
Yeah, and Dadguy Vince is certainly not someone to be trifled with. He has got plenty of pace and he's got a fantastic top 10 record as well. I'm sure he'd love something a little bit more though than just top 10, and has got a sprinkling of podiums. Would love a race win under his belt, I am sure. Lap 19 will soon become lap 20 and we'll have 8 laps to take us home as well. As now we ride on board with GB68 moving alongside Formula Karim on the run down towards turn 1, retaking that lead again for Aston Martin. Timet Malik moving up to 4th, Rasin Chai down to 5th. Gillen still remains in 3rd now. In that last lap, Gillen took the purple first sector and his last lap was a 1:26.04, which in fact was a personal best on Alex Gillen's count, and I must say he was faster than our front two by 0.6 of a second. There is more in the locker here from P3 down to P7. Meraki, a little bit of a distant memory. He's 4.1 away from Lolinoba, so he won't be in this lead tussle. But Gillen now, with the DRS under his belt, it has become a 7-car scrap for the race lead here at Monza. It's a DRS battle, a long straight battle. We're going to see some multi-car wides going down through towards turn 1. Strap yourselves in, folks. This race is hotting up.
If anyone thought this race is over, it is just getting started. 7.5 laps, just over 20 miles of racing, 7 different cars, 6 different constructors can all take this race home, and who knows, we might even see a safety car to still spice things up. We haven't had one yet in this race. There's always a possibility that Bert Mylander can cause some chaos.
Unfathomable as well, considering we had different weather conditions right through the course of, well, at the very start, of course. Remember, it was soaking wet, folks. It's now dried up, and we are now with medium tyres across the board in this grid order. Watching a fight now between our top 7, 2 of them being former F2 champions. You could argue, though, that one of them is a reigning F2 champion, of course. Formula Karim, the last champion in Formula 2. He is second at this stage. Alex Gillen, though, just look at the gaps. They're equal between GB and Karim to Gillen and Karim as well. This is far from over. This will go right to the bitter end. Will we see drama? Will we see chaos? Will we see carnage? Let's wait and see. Coming out of Lesmo 2, DRS will open up again as now GB flies down through towards Ascari. Rear wings open this time around. Karim now, as we see GB drag his car over to the inside, trying to protect the position, at least for now, as they fly through Ascari. Gillen, with his RB pointed forwards as ever, looking to try and charge and enlist his first win of the season here at Monza.
Beautiful stuff, all the racing. There's so much respect amongst our drivers at the moment, and keep an eye on Meraki just in the distance, 4.5 seconds off, but don't write him out at the moment. There's quite a possibility that with all this fighting amongst the grid, that he can try and close that gap over the next few laps. Moves being made further forward as Formula Crim's moved complete other side of the road, trying to keep away from everybody else. He's switched past GB68. Alex Gillen wants to come on the way through as well. He's going to swoop around the outside of GB68. Outside lends himself to the inside, and Gillen's now up to P2, but still side by side as we enter the Curva Grande. Now he's got the move done.
Fantastic move from Alex Gillen, brings himself into the lead fight. Tim Mark also fancies some of the same as well. A little bit of bump draft in between them as they come down into the Rogier. Karim leads, late on the brakes there from Alex Gillen. Tussles as well, 3 wide on the escape. Coming out of the Rogier chicane, and Tim Mark moves into second. A double overtake here on lap 22. GB licking his wounds in third, and Alex Gillen, who looked to be the favourite coming out of the Rogier, has lost out altogether. That guy Vince in fifth, also looking for a fight. Racing Chai as well coming into this too with Lolinoba as they fly in towards Ascari, the two Astons together, and it's caused a huge colossal error there for that guy Vince. It's pushed him wide on the exit of Ascari and opened the door for Racing Chai and potentially Lolinoba on the run down towards Arboretta.
It's the minor mistakes where we're starting to see these gaps starting to form through Ascari. Just running wide is what's caused Vince to try and lose out so many positions here. He's dropped down all the way to P6. He was fighting potentially for a podium at the start of this race, and now he's got a recovery drive in the next few laps.
Truly extraordinary. They're all coming together again through turn one. Once more, Lolinoba very nearly losing out altogether as well. But a lovely switchback. Look at that. Found the leverage, the momentum, and has now moved himself alongside as well. That guy Vince, Tim Mark duking it out for the race lead with Formula Karim as well here on lap 23. The Aussie Wonder moves alongside now in towards the Rogier. He's here at the Temple of Speed. Could it be back-to-back victories for one Benjamin Daly? Stay tuned, folks. This is extraordinary.
Looking like a dream come through for Ben Daly at the moment. He's still got 4 laps to try and hold off the fellow drivers, though. That is no mean feat, especially around the streets or the circuit of Monza. He's got a lot of opportunities for drivers to send one down the inside. Formula Karim looking so racy over the last few laps, over the last, 23 laps, if you want to say that. And now he thinks about an opportunity in towards Parabolica.
Yeah, he might yet. Mosaic Karim now looking to fight back against Tiamat Marduk. Doesn't want to go down without a fight, as we now watch GB as well into third. Alex Gillen, of course, remember, losing out massively not too long ago. He's going to look to try and take maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 as they take the trip down through towards turn 1. It is like a velodrome cycling event. They all go in a line, but they'll fan out shortly as they sprint down through towards turn 1. Formula Karim still out in front. Look at Tiamat Marduk round the outside. It'll become the inside, though, coming out of turn 2, and the Aussie still with his nose cone in front of the McLaren, but this time Karim has the inside line through Curva Grande. It means nothing, though, because Tiamat Marduk will hold that lead on the run down through towards the next chicane as they come in towards turns 4 and 5. Down the inside as well from that guy Vince, who looks to strip Lolinoba away from that P6. That potential P6 that Lolinoba could have taken. Vince has held on to it. GB now once again in this lead scrap. He's still got Gillen behind him, though, and he's going to be a thorn in his side.
Both Aston Martins looking very strong as we continue through the Grand Prix. Tim Mark still in a commanding position. I think Formula Karim just went a little bit too early in towards Parabolica. He should have been patient, waited for the DRS assistance in towards turn 1 and then made the move there. And he wouldn't find himself in an opportunity or the situation that he finds himself at the moment. But keep an eye on Meraki further back. That gap was 4.6 seconds, now just 2.1.
Well, let us know, folks, in the live chat. I want to see you guys tapping in who exactly you think's going to win this race. You've got plenty to pick from. I can assure you, Tiamat Marduk's your race leader for now. We are on lap 25 of 27. 3 laps of magic to go if you include this one. Formula Karim up the inside now as well. GB68 looking to go side by side with Benjamin Daly as they fly through turns 1 and 2. Again, Alex Gillen on the tail of the pair as well. He's in the position that Ben was not too long ago either. just can't quite find the avenue to make an overtake happen, but still Team at Marduk remains side by side here with GB. He looks to get one up here on Benjamin Daly, but Ben will have the inside coming through the Rogier. He can't, though, get through past the Aston, and GB successfully moves back behind Formula Karim, as they were prior to this DRS train being formulated laps and laps ago.
It's defense to attack for all of our drivers in this train at the moment. Nobody knows whether they're going to have a move sent down the inside of them, whether they'll see an opportunity into a corner. You've got to be so awake, so alert for every single opportunity. Speaking of which, Alex Gillen thinks about a move in towards Ascari, sent it down the inside of Team Marduk. Razin Chai, though, is going to make it 3 wide on the run towards Parabolica.
Oh, it's like Swan Lake coming through Ascari as Razin Chai manages to take the 2. They were scrapping and fighting, the rivals between them. They were scrapping over P3. Razin Chai said thank you very much. On the run out of the Ascari, he had the momentum. It was truly, though, fascinating and brilliant to watch them dancing through the apexes at the Ascari chicane. Just none of them came out on top because it was Razin Chai who successfully succeeded. That could all change, though. Oh, Ben! Oh, Team Marduk just losing that rear end. Somehow held up to it. Lolinoba also very nearly losing out. And look who's come to join them. It's Meraki, the former champion in the Creator Series, has returned. Our Season 4 champion, no less, as Formula Karim gets onto the grass. That could have been curtains.
That could have been curtains. That could have been an early shower for the McLaren driver. You thought it was going to be 7. Well, folks, we'll just flip a coin and add another one. Meraki joins the party to make it 8, and this is going to be a dramatic finish. And I can't quite believe I'm saying this. All 20 drivers are still on this racetrack, George.
We've never seen, I'm going to say that. Have we seen this before? I don't know. Black Mirror's left the session. That's not a retirement, folks. That is a technical issue. So stay with us. That's not a retirement. Not yet. We're going to try and hang on. We're on the penultimate lap of the race. The next lap will be the last one. And I must say, a little bit of contact between Gillen and Team Marduk again. Obviously, Ben not getting quite the exit that Gillen had coming out of the Ascari as they now send it through the Kerber Alboreto for the penultimate time in this race. The next time could yet decide our race winner. Karim now sending it down the long straight. Here we go, folks. This is where business starts to pick up. GB in the wheel tracks now of Formula Karim. The man in papaya looking to defend hard against the Aston Martin. He can't defend enough, though. GB's got enough. Oh, no, my goodness me. Oh, Karim's been collected. And on top of that, as well, a sea of cars have ploughed into one another. Tim Marduk somehow has come out in second. Gillen in third, but Ben's got a penalty. He has got a penalty against his name of 10 seconds, so he won't finish on the podium here at this rate.
It was a dive down the inside. I'm almost certain of it. Alex Gillen thought about an opportunistic move. I'm happy to be corrected on that one. Another yellow flag further back. I think Meraki and Formula Karim coming together on that corner in towards the first Lesbos. But look at this. GP, 1.5 seconds clear. Is this going to be race victory number 2?
It looks like it. I tell you what, he doesn't have enough of them as far as we're concerned. Definitely one of the dark horses, still scrapping it out. Ben Daly and Gillen into the gravel. The old rivals collected again, and our first retirement. It's Alex Gillen. He's lost it. The suspension damage clear on the front left of the car. But look at this. History made once again. I tell you what, an emotional scene when he won his first. He comes back all mean and green here at the Temple of Speed. It's GB. He takes victory here at Monza, and that is our first race of tonight's double-header affair. The Italian job kicking off in the right vein for the Aston Martin team. Lolinoba second, the former F2 champion, giving a great account and finishing on the podium place. And it's a double podium for Aston Martin. That guy Vince launching himself into the stratosphere. That's podium number 3. And Meraki, who is at the tail of this 8-car scrap, finds himself in 4th.
Beautiful, beautiful opportunity there. Beautiful win for GB as well. Aston Martin completely in their wheelhouse this afternoon. Lolinoba showing everybody that Italy is his hometown. And that is a beautiful P2 for himself. The home crowd hero will be celebrating this afternoon.
Well, I must say, I was expecting some drama. I was expecting fireworks. I tell you what, I wonder how resentful Alex Gillen is going to be towards Team Marduk after that moment coming through Ascari. I can't imagine Mr. Gillen is very happy, and I'm sure in the cool-down room things are going to kick off somewhat, I am sure. But hey, folks, This is just the first of a double header we've got coming up for you here tonight. So strap yourselves in, get your popcorn out. It could yet get even more serious than what it already is. What an astonishing race. Well done, GB68. What a result for him. His second win in the F1 Creator Series. And Aston Martin with 2 on the board. I'm telling you now, TK, it's looking good for a should we say a 3 in a row for the team in green.
Almost certainly it could be the start of something beautiful for those British Racing Green cars. Beautiful stuff to see both of them up on the podium as well. And I just want to break this out. We've talked about the front of the grid a lot. Something I want to just remind viewers of. Of course, we head to the second race here. We head to Imola for race number 2, reverse grid. Alex Gillen will start on the front row alongside Hayden Gullis, who will start in pole position when we go to Imola.
I can see him now. Justice is probably what he's saying, I think, looking ahead to our next race at Imola. We head to the Emilia-Romagna, of course, remember, folks, for our next race. GB68, though, confirmed your race winner. Lolin Ober in that guy Vince third, Meraki fourth, Rasin Chai, Formula Karim, Tim M. Arnock, Scott Taylor, Grid Jokes, Noguera, Nick Flies, Arsenault, Blackmere, Infratic, T. George, Zavso, Ricky, F1 Alex, as well as Alex Gillen, Hayden von der Gullis as well towards the rear of the field. Remember, he had his own problems through the course of the race. I think he was hoping very early on to grasp that reverse grid pole as we look ahead to Imola very shortly. But, I mean, we've come to expect it. Obviously, generally, the drama does kick up in the second stint, TK. It was almost, I don't want to say a formality, really, in the initial, because there was a lot of, shall we say, moments. Obviously, some drivers opting for the wet, some opting for the intermediates. They were all looking for track space out on track. We saw issues right at the very start, some cars bidding it. Williams had a horror show, really, to get the race off. I mean, Ricky 03, who's been a sensation, really. We looked at him last week. What a revelation to score the points that he did. And obviously Hayden Gullis, someone who is known to grab points on his day. It just did not work out probably the way they envisioned.
Yeah, I think maybe back to the drawing board with this one from the guys at Williams. I mean, Hayden, like I said earlier, he thinks 7 steps ahead. And as soon as he was probably having a bad race to start, he was thinking immediately about pole position at Imola. I mean, Ricky with some good points, as you said, some good points to take home to his hometown heroes as well. But now I think all of our drivers' focus has to be on race number 2. Will we see fireworks with Alex Gillen again? I think he feels like he's got something to prove.
Yeah, and obviously now we're looking back at a track, and like I said to you before, a long history in this racing. 80 BC. As quoted, as worded, I looked this up and everything. I love my history. 80 BC was where we witnessed chariot racing at the Emilia-Romagna region. Of course, we all know that the Roman Empire, they loved their chariot racing back then. And obviously, that was a point in time where we witnessed it for the first time in that region, as so documented. Whether that's true, I'm not 100% sure, but that's what is written. We're going to see some great racing nonetheless. We look at Imola as one of the circuits that pretty much embodies everything to do with Formula One. Has a little bit of everything. Tom, I mean, we've got the odd straight there. Obviously, if you look at the run down through towards, through turn 1 in towards turn 2 at Tamburello, there's quite a hefty, reasonable straight there. A few kinks in the course, but, still nonetheless, a place where you can manufacture overtakes. But it's when you really get into that tricky middle sector and arguably as well into sector 3, where, overtakes can come out of anywhere. Mistakes can happen. If you don't get the entries right, if the escape is wrong, if you lose traction, it's very easy to lose it around this circuit. Acqua Minerale, arguably, especially in the wet, one of the most difficult sections of circuit that we see in motorsport today.
Very much so, and it's going to be a fascinating one. And as you said, I think mistakes are probably going to be the main cause of overtakes, especially in that third sector. But on the run down towards turns 1 and 2, when the DRS gets open, if the DRS gets open, of course, we don't know the weather 100% yet, that's where we'll see the high-speed manoeuvres. We have got GB68 waiting in the interview waiting room. If you fancy bringing him in for a chat.
Let's bring him in, shall we? Let's bring in GB68. Why not? Here he is now. And he would go on to take his second victory in the F1 Creator Series. And I bet he's absolutely delighted. GB, that is one for Team Newport, I think.
Hey, come on, let's go. I was just heading to my chat. Yeah, buzzing. Obviously, Baku being the first win last season, kind of felt like a bit of a weight was lifted since then. And yeah, I felt like it was managed pretty well. I mean, you saw the chaos further back. as soon as they got within mine and Kareem's DRS when we were working together earlier on, I said to my chat, look, here we go. Here comes the spice, here comes the fireworks. And I don't think it disappointed. I saw Alex diving up the inside turn one. All I was trying to do was just put myself as far away from kind of, the pack as possible. So trying to be top two. Yeah, fortunately we came through with it. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, this is your first appearance this season as well. I mean, you didn't take part in our last week's event. Of course, we got both the Aston Martin drivers back now this time. And I would argue that in comparison to last week's race, this is more centered around really the racing aspect, in terms of racing wheel to wheel. Don't get me wrong, we had a bit of it last week, but that was more centered around the safety cars, wasn't it? We didn't have a single one this time.
Yeah, and I got to say, I think that race was a perfect example. Is we don't always need safety cars to get a great show. I think Monza as a track probably helped with today. We know obviously how powerful DRS is and what the type of track it is. So, yeah, I think that had a big part to play. But let's not underestimate that was a cracking race with changing weather conditions, with tyre strategies, and no safety cars. So, yeah, let's see. I feel like we are going to get a safety car at Imola, being the type of track it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did really enjoy that, and hopefully you guys did too.
Yeah, it was fabulous to watch, and also a great result for Aston Martin. You guys come into this as well with 2 championships under your belt as a constructor. You must be thrilled as well that Vince managed to put his car in P3.
Yeah, I came around Parabolica on the final lap cheering for Vince as well. I was like, come on. I saw that obviously Ben had the penalty. I saw Vince in P4, and then it kind of dawned on me going through Ascari. Hang on a minute, we're about to get a double podium. That's huge. So back-to-back podiums for Vince, which can't be understated given last Abu Dhabi was only his second one. So huge performance from Vince, and yeah, pretty buzzing with that. It couldn't go any better for the first race for me.
Yeah, it was special. Tom, any questions for GB?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I've had the pleasure now of being able to watch and or commentate both your race wins here in the Creator Series. That alone is fantastic. But flipping it on its head, looking forward to race 2. You start from the back of the grid. What's your plan? What's your preparation going in towards that?
Yeah, good question. Funnily enough, I said to my chat before Monza started, if we win this race, it's going to be very interesting at Imola because it's not the easiest track to make overtakes, and obviously we're starting from last. So I don't really know, to be honest. I think mindset's just got to be pace should be there, and I've just got to try and go for sensible moves, not just desperate moves whenever there's a gap. So yeah, it's always difficult. There's a little bit of lottery RNG starting from the back, so you're always hoping there's not a big crash in, say, P10 and you get caught up in it. So yeah, hopefully a little bit of luck, but also smart driving, smart car placement will get us through the pack at the start.
Amazing. Well, best of luck.
Yeah, best of luck, GB. Fantastic. We look forward to seeing how you get on when we head to Imola.
Cheers, guys. Hopefully I'll be back speaking to you after. That'd be great. See ya.
Yeah, it's going to be a tougher task this time for poor GB when we look ahead to Imola next, because he will be starting towards the rear, Tom. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge, but nonetheless, anything can happen. We know this about the Creator Series, and he did, breeze on a point that we made prior to the interview, actually, talking about the potential for a safety car. At Imola, we know mistakes can be made through Sector 2, Sector 3, arguably as well in Sector 1, despite it being one of the fastest sectors in comparison, to Sector 2 and Sector 3. So there's huge opportunities, again, for the drivers who, play their cards right, hedge their bets a little bit. Meraki did just that in that last race. He started in the bottom 10, and fought his way up through the mistakes and the errors that were made at the very highest end of the order to bring himself within chance of a podium. He didn't get the podium, but he was there.
Very much so, and that's where the luck of the draw, not necessarily the luck of the draw, has kind of worked its way into that. It's the consistency that he's had, he's stuck with it, and maybe had a little bit of a prayer that some drivers in front of him will make mistakes. But even if we look at Monza just a couple of minutes ago, we saw mistakes made on the start-finish straight, drivers not leaving room, mistakes or silly dives into turn 1. I think if we're expecting to see something similar at Imola, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of public opinion as well from you guys in the live chat. Thank you for getting involved wherever you're tuning in from, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch. General consensus, Ben, very unfortunate with regards to obtaining that penalty. We know what it's like when you go through the first chicane at Monza. Mistakes happen, not, should we say, in any way, case or form, should it be his fault. It just is the way it is. And obviously the game penalised him with a 10-second time penalty. Do you reckon that'll affect his mindset going into a track like Imola?
I think you'd be lying if you said it's never going to affect you on a back-to-back race like that. Yes, it's going to be kind of niggling in the back of his mind. He won't necessarily be able to shake it, but Ben's a professional. He does races week in, week out. He knows how he can put it aside, or even kind of turn it on its head and use it to his advantage come the race here in Imola.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether he can bounce back in that fashion. He should have a good chance of doing so as well. Didn't exactly finish at the very top, and obviously the penalty going his way means that he will start somewhere, I think, in the midway point of the bottom 10. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, we've got other heads that we need to watch out for as well. Big chance here for the likes of Noiguera again. I think, with him having that issue earlier on, we saw how capable he was at Monza. Ferrari, just did not go to plan. Noiguera finishing in P10. Unfortunately, Fratic, I think, finishing in 14th as well. This is a home race for Ferrari as well, a home weekend. It's the Italian job. They've got to come back fighting at the Emilia-Romagna circuit.
They certainly do. They've got a lot of things to prove, I think, to their home audiences. But you never know, the pressure might be off their shoulders. They might be able to go again and relax after they've had kind of a 5-10 minute debrief. Just set themselves up, go again.
Yeah, exactly right. Obviously, remember, folks, the rules that we have in place, whilst we had qualifying to determine the grid for the very first race, we will be going reverse grid based on the results from our last race heading into race 2. So it's going to be extraordinary. We'll go through the championship standings though. Tiamat Marduk joint at the top now with Meraki. Oh, goodness me, the two forces going all the way back from the Grand Championship fight that we witnessed, going back to season. I want to hang on. Let me just pick my papers up after dropping them everywhere. Going all the way back to season 4. It came to a head, didn't it, at Spa, where unfortunately it did not go Tiamat Marduk's way. It went Meraki's way. Formula Karim still in the question. He's a point ahead, though, of GB68. 26 points, 25 for GB. Rasin Chai in 5th as well, fought his way back to the front end. Lolin Ober, who, of course, was sort of dipping in and out of that top 7 battle. Alex Gillen, he will be absolutely seething, I'm sure, Tom, after that big collision with Tiamat Marduk.
Yeah, he won't be a happy bunny at all. He was in for some fantastic points at the race today, but I mean, he's got to almost take a step back, forget that ever happened, and go again. We can quickly look at the team standings before we head over to Imola, because I'll give you some spoiler alert. It's a little bit damp again.
Goodness me, it all kicks off. Now, bear in mind, if you thought it was rough at Monza, expect it to be rough around Imola, folks. Obviously, the traction isn't the best, especially around places like Acqua Minerale. Emphasis, I'm going to say, on Aqua, going through Acqua Minerale. It's going to be wet when we get down there. Team standings, so Mercedes currently hold all the cards, 50 points going their way. Aston Martin, though, after that huge result in that first race that we brought you earlier tonight, they now sit on 46. They've launched themselves into second in the championship. Red Bull in 3rd as well on 37, 2 points ahead of McLaren. Haas in 5th on 33, and then we have the Racing Bulls on 29 and 6th, Ferrari on 27 and 7th, then Alpine on 26, we have Williams on 19, and Sauber with a lot of work to do. Yes, you heard it, F1 Alex, you need to pull your finger out. You're on 4 points at the moment, down in 10th, and he'll love me for that.
He absolutely will. Let's go across and have a quick look over our standings here at Imola, where the rain, much like we saw at the start of Monza, is rather torrential.
Yeah, it looks a little wet. Got your armbands, TK?
I do always pack them, always.
Fantastic. Great to hear. Let us know if you've got your armbands on in the live chat as well. Yes, Storm AON still persists here in Europe, and indeed as we head to Emilia-Romagna, a different corner, a different pocket of the Italian nation. Formation lap underway, and Hayden van der Gullis gets his wish. He starts on pole for this race as well. Formation lap now underway, but he's joined by Alex Gillen. Now that is someone on the front row you wouldn't necessarily want to be joined with. F1 Alex with a grand chance to bring some big points home for Sauber. Ricciardo 3, both Williamses in the top 4. They can easily turn what has been an L so far tonight into a major W. Helmets off for Van der Gullis as well, meaning that it's game on here at this point here, TK.
Part of me was really hoping that there was going to be a swim cap or something on the head of Hayden there. For half a moment, I was really praying. But as you said, helmets come off. This is full focus as he heads into the race. He's got Gillen behind him. And of course, F1 Alex, who will be chomping at the bit to try and score his first points in an F1 Creator Series race.
Yeah, could be a big night. And Safso starting in 5th. T. George as well for Red Bull in 6th. F1 Alex holds the record for most points scored in F2. However, he's started 5 races previously in the F1 series, but has never managed to score points. Not even scored a podium, not scored a race win, and 0 top 10s. Needs to pull out everything he can. Obviously, also a big fan of the dart scene as well as F1 Alex. And I'm sure he'll be looking to score a few 180 dart here tonight. As long as he doesn't have any bounce outs or goes off track or misses the board altogether, these things can happen around Imola. Formation lap drawing to a close. Hayden van der Gullis will take them through towards the start-finish line and by consequence then onto the grid. Not slowing down at all is F1 Alex, firm on the brakes. You might shoot yourself too far in these wet conditions. It looks like he's managed to get there okay, though. In fact, he's disqualified himself, so I was right. He did miss the boat, I think, just ever so slightly. Ricky 03 in 4th, remember as well. Keep your eyes peeled on him. We know him to be quick as he now looks to take his place on the grid. Infratic also be looking for a good start. A huge race here in prospect for Ferrari as Hayden van der Gullis decides to give us a little bit of a donut show before the start of the race.
Ah, beautiful stuff. Just reminding us how many official pole positions he's actually got in the F1 Creator Series here.
Yeah, GB68 also getting a disqualification. That guy Vince also getting one. So Aston Martin going from Ps1 and unfortunately missing out altogether. Moving on to the front end of the grid is Hayden van der Gullis. We're getting set ready now to start this race. All 5 lights are now lit. And it's pedal to the metal, and it's go, 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 go. A great start for Alex Gillen. A good start over Hayden van der Gullis. Gets away very nicely indeed on the run down through towards Tamburello. Gillen, no pressurising and puncturing. Gullis heading in towards Tamburello this time, coming out of turn 2 and turn 3. It's the Williams that leads. F1 as well coming through. Surprisingly enough, it's all very neat and tidy on the escape out of Tamburello, though. Gillen going round the outside, coming through towards Villeneuve. Gullis squeezes him. Great defence from the Williams, and Gillen loses traction. F1 Alex with a little look around the outside, can't quite manufacture anything, and up the inside goes Sasso, Racing Bulls with a great start here. 2 RBs in the top 3.
Great opportunistic move from Safso there. Saw F1 Alex maybe being a bit hesitant to Alex Gillen and Hayden in front of him. Saw the move down the inside and absolutely licked the stamp and sent it. And he sent it again on his teammate. P2 for Safso.
No friends here. I tell you what, despite being teammates, I tell you what, Gillen's had a little bit of a heart-stopping moment in both races so far. His teammate decided to launch the inside of Acqua Minerale. Gillen trying to tie up with Gullis on the run coming through out of the Variante Alta chicane, and it's 3 wide on the escape. Safso and Gillen, the 2 teammates, are now going to fight it out for lead supremacy. Safso holding that lead. Looks like Gillen, though, isn't going to challenge him for it. An end plate, I think, has flown off as well. Now, whose does that belong to? It's Hayden van der Gullis. Damage to the front of the Williams.
Absolutely heartbreak there for Hayden. He was running so well in the opening stage of this Grand Prix. Wasn't expecting the drivers in front to slam on the brakes as hard as they did. And now he's going to have to endure that wing damage throughout the first few laps of this Grand Prix. Unless he takes the possibility, goes for an early pit stop. But he's going to be under pressure from drivers behind.
Has done the smart thing, though, has allowed Ricky 03, his teammate, to move ahead of him just so he doesn't hold him back too much. Still a chance here for Williams to grab key important points. In Fratic looking to chase after Gullis as well. Ferrari also on a mission of their own to score major points here in this race to bounce back after the dismay at Monza as we now watch them make their way uphill, coming out of the Tosa corner at turn 7. And then the sharp rise incline coming up through turn 8 in towards turn 9 at Piratella. 2 laps down. We're coming into 3 very soon. Still 2 sectors to go through. Here on lap 2, Safso leads the way still and has bridged a gap of nearly 0.8 of a second from his teammate Alex Gillen in Fratic, moving past Hayden Gullis, coming through Acqua Minerale. Fantastic move. Good
opportunity there from Fratic to get up an easy position in the wounded Williams of Hayden van der Gullis. And I think at the moment Hayden's got a question on his mind. He started on pole position, of course, but now does he go for damage control? Does he go into the pits, get the front wing replaced? You can see he's losing positions hand over fist, but he doesn't want to lose and drop all the way down out of this DRS train if the DRS becomes effective.
Yeah, coming through well, should I say not the Lesmo, Rivazza, should say. Wrong track, George. We've already been to Monza, as we now watch them sprint down towards turn 1 and then through towards turn 2 at, of course, Tamburello, the famed corner that we all know was the, should we say, the architect to the end of Ayrton Senna's life. And obviously we celebrate Senna as one of the legends in Formula 1. And of course, Imola, circuit that is certainly surrounds the, should we say, the stories of tragedy, but also history in Formula One and magnificent races that we have seen as well in the past. Let's see if we see a magnificent one again this time in the Creator Series. Already we've had a furious start to this race, and it's gone into the favour of the Faenza team of the Racing Bulls, part of the Red Bull family. Zafso, a former champion, and also as well a multiple race winner. 2 wins he has under his belt. GB has just joined him statistically as well with number of wins on the board. 10 podiums as well for Zafso since season 1-2. His watches Tiamat Marduk looks to fight his way through. Formula Karim, though, tussling with him on the escape coming out of Aqua Minerale. How on earth they got 2 cars through that same corner is truly extraordinary. Wheel to wheel again coming through Variante Alta, and Tiamat Marduk again denied by Formula Karim, who denied him as well in our prior race at Monza. And both of them, though, on the rise together. Blackmere ahead, though, of Hayden von der Gullis. They can't afford to stay behind this group because Blackmere is now 2 seconds behind F1 Alex.
He is indeed. That's all the time it's taken to get past Hayden in the stranded Williams. If you're Team RB, though, don't celebrate quite yet. Alex Gillen, I've just seen front left end plate missing for that V-carb. That's why he could be struggling and could be allowing Safso to try and pull away.
Yeah, great chance here for Riccio 3, and as I said before, smart move from Hayden von der Gullis to allow Riccio 3 to move on up and try and challenge the front 2. And I must say, Ricky giving a good account here, seems to be well at home on these intermediate tyres. We now see a tussle coming into Villeneuve. We just watched Meraki trying to dice it out here with Rasin Chai. Coming up through now towards Tosa. Once again, a move up the inside here from that guy Vince as well. This time on T. George, and they're going to fan out to nearly 4 wide. Is it going to be 4 wide? No. Formula Karim, though, will blast past Hayden von der Gullis. And Noiguera is going to do the same. Coming through the Piratella. He flies through this very fast left-hander. Toes along Tiamat Marduk. A cascade, a sea of cars moving past the stricken Williams with an end plate missing. Losing out on that traction. And he's got a queue that are looking to do the same in behind.
This is absolutely incredible scenes that we're seeing. GB with a time penalty. I think Meraki or someone else getting a time penalty. Scott Taylor picking up time penalty further back. But everybody getting stuck behind the Williams at present. Meraki, T. George, Razin Chai, all quick names that you'd expect to be able to dispatch a stricken car. Can't quite get past at the moment, and it's holding them up in time. Safso with the fastest lap with the support from his teammate. And now Blackmere steals that away for Team Alpine.
Yeah, but watch out for Riccio 3, who I'm sure will have no qualms about trying to dice it out with Alex Gillen. Gillen still marshalling that 6/10 of a second. Yeah, big moment there for Ricky. Very nearly losing the car altogether. He just saw the twist of the wheel to try and save it. Lolin Ober has moved ahead of Grid Jokes as well for P15. And that gap now between Formula Karim and Blackmere has also gone out further again. 3 seconds. And this is the stats for Riccio 3. No wins, no podiums. Only 9 starts, though, remember. One DNF. Had a great chance, though, if you look back to last week, to take a first podium back then. He was right on the strat in the initial stage. The safety cars upset the balance of his race.
Certainly did, and that was something that was completely beyond his control. Arseno has been the first driver in towards the pit lane. Nice and early stop, which is interesting. He started on the intermediates and is now on the intermediates again, as with everybody else. All 20 drivers on the green wall tyres. So experience says to me that has to have been for front wing damage.
Yeah, we are suspected, though, to have rain stopping in around 12 minutes in accordance to the weather. So you never know. We could see that now. I'm working that out.
9 laps?
As approximately, yeah, maybe a little bit less than that. We could see it as soon, I think, as 7 laps, I think. So I would say probably looking around lap 12 where we could see the weather change. I think ultimately we probably won't see, though, the slick tyres coming out till a few laps, maybe 2-3 laps after that. So, yeah, probably around 9 or 10, I would say, TK.
Yeah, I think you're right. We'll start to see drying maybe around 12. I wouldn't say maybe until lap 15 we'll start to see maybe DRS even becoming a factor in this race at the moment. I did notice Infratic just having some technical issues on his end. Fortunately, has got back into the lobby and hasn't managed to drop any positions. He's in a bit of no man's land at the moment. Someone who's not, though, Riccio 3 now starting to challenge Alex Gillen, who's given his teammate Safso chance for his first win, I believe, in over 300 days. Sorry, over 600.
Yeah, that is extraordinary stat, isn't it? And Riccio 3 has given him somewhat of a headache as well. So Alex Gillen needs to try and find some reliever for the pain that Riccio 3 is currently applying. 1.8, though, between Gillen and Safso. But Safso with a 3-second time penalty. And look at the car. It's going all shapes on the run through towards Variante Alta. So now, this begs the question, does he look to allow Alex Gillen to go, hold up the cars behind? Do the RBs make a decision here?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. What happens? Are they going to send the stricken car forward? Are they going to send the car forward that has time penalties? And time penalties across the board are coming thick and fast. Safso, F1 Alex, Hayden Scott, T George, GB and Grid Jokes all falling victim already after only 7 laps to multiple track limit warnings.
Yeah, and Fratic also on for a big result as well, looking to bring his absolute best. Blackmere moving past F1 Alex as well, so moves up to P5. Karim now 2.4, so he's managed to bring the Delta gap. Remember, it was 3 seconds not too long ago, so he's started to dig deep now and close up to the back of the top 6. But the key number to look at is in Fratic being 1.3, 1.2 behind Riccio 3. But as long as the front 3 start battling, and if Safso continues making mistakes, it can open the door to those further down. And in Fratic is starting to sharply close on the back of Riccio 3. And as a consequence, the top 3 in this race right now. And Safso being allowed about a second advantage here to Alex Gillen in second place. As now we see, Scott Taylor, clear damage to his front wing as well. There's damage sprinkled across the Villeneuve chicane alike. So I wonder whether it's not just the Haas that sustained damage, maybe another car as well.
Yeah, Grid Jokes, I believe himself and Scott Taylor coming together. Front left end plate missing for that Mercedes. His teammate, though, is starting to make inroads. You can see Timo Marduk on the back of Nogueira, already up in towards the top 10. Really not letting that 10-second penalty from last race get him down.
No, certainly not. Just look at this. Fratic now has joined the back of this top 3, so has actually managed to marshal in the deficit quite effectively as well, and has given Ferrari an opportunity. And Nogueira isn't that far behind either. F1 Alex is 0.8 though behind Blackmere, but with Karim's pace, we know how fast he is. Nogueira not too bad, not too shabby over one single lap. If he can hot lap his way into this fight, this could be a good day for Ferrari as well as RB. Let's wait and see. Obviously, remember, Zafso with a penalty. Karim moves through past F1 Alex, who has a moment. Goodness me, the Sauber has gone off, has picked up some of the polystyrene boards along the side as well, and several cars have moved up. Vince, Timothy Marduk, Nogueira and Karim all move up a place. Alex moving down to 10th.
Unfortunate for F1 Alex, they're really easy to lose the car through those mini chicanes. They're so quick, they're so fast, and in wet conditions like we see ourselves in at the moment, one little snap of the car and sometimes you end up in the barrier. Fortunate not to get any damage on that kick Sauber, but alas, dropping positions.
Yeah, here comes in Fratic now at the inside and steals P3 away from Riccio 3. A little twitch of the wheel. He looks to find the traction now. If you want a story about Fratic, this is a driver who's only had one podium to his name historically. No wins, but now he's in the victory equation. Secured his first podium with good teamwork last season, and he forms one half of an all-Portuguese partnership at Ferrari for this campaign. Of course, Nogueira being the second half of that partnership. Riccio 3, though, is not going to let him forget it. He's going to come back and charge down through towards Tamburello. Will he open the door again this time? Fabio looking to hold on firm to that P3. It's all the important for Ferrari to hold out certainly the tirade of pressure that Fabio is going to be feeling right now. He's got to focus forwards, though, because it's a huge opportunity for a big result for the prancing horses this time.
Certainly is. Beautiful opportunity for them. Nogueira still well within the points as well, so we could see a good result for Team Ferrari. Don't forget Team RB doing well at the front. Safso is again starting to pull a gap. 1.3 seconds to Gillen, and I wonder if we're seeing Gillen sacrificing his own race here to help his teammate, his F1 Alex, once again causing some yellow flags in the second sector.
Well, at the moment, Gillen has been given a reprieve as well, because Fabio in Fratic is 1.1 behind, and T George has spun it. T George has spun it, and therefore it's caused him to curtail downwards. Scott Taylor's managed to gain a place back after he lost it earlier on as well. Arsenault is right at the rear of the field. He's only driver to make a pit stop is Arsenault. At the tail end of the field, he's on brand new intermediate tyres. So much like Safso did in our previous race, he could yet face the consequence of having to make an extra stop in order to put on a slick tyre.
Insane. Certainly he will. He's got a lot of options, a lot of opportunities to go for as Blackmere almost loses the car out of the final corner. But I just want to take a moment of appreciation for Formula Karim here. Started P15 and he's up 9 positions to P6 already. Less than a third of the way through this race. Karim's on an almighty comeback in this Grand Prix.
He is, and he was purple in that last sector as well in the last lap. Noiguera also starting 11th. There's actually followed him through. He's in 7th. Teammate Malik started 14th. And how about the man in P9? That guy Vince started in 18th position at the start of this race. That is truly extraordinary and has the fastest lap. So really, we look at it statistically, that guy Vince, probably one of the fastest movers and one of the biggest gainers in this race, and he's just gone purple again in the first sector.
He has indeed, and well, he's always been the bridesmaid. He's got the record for the most points scored without a win to his name. I'm sure that's a record that he'd like to try and get rid of over the course of Season 9. And I think if he's shown some good performances in Monza, he's showing a good performance here in Imola. I think that certainly could come his way.
Yeah, it could well do. Formula Karim, though, dancing past Blackmere, and he brings along Noiguera for the ride as well. I would say you could probably stack Noiguera and that guy Vince in the same column, being two of the major dark horses in this fight. Phenomenal. Teammate Marnik also looking to try and gain a place. Moves up the inside of Blackmere, coming through in towards Ravazza 1 and out of Ravazza 2. He dances onwards. The Aussie strikes once more into 7th place. Bear in mind, we have yet to have the strategy change, but doesn't it look drier now out there? The rain not coming down as hard, and we are around that lap 11 and 12 mark. Give it a couple of laps, we could see slick tyres as soon as 1 or 2 laps time.
Well, from what I'm seeing on the onboards, we're not having any rain on the track at the moment. It might be incredibly light. It might be a thing that we can't quite see how dry it is, but according to my eyes, there's no rain falling here at Imola anymore.
Yeah, I mean, looking at my telemetry, it says it stops raining in 4 minutes, which would imply 2 laps, should we say, of running at this point. Around 2 to 3 laps, I should say. Well, to me, I'm not seeing any raindrops. Don't know about you, TK. So, obviously now, do the drivers make a decision? Do they look ahead to the next couple of laps and then decide to make those changes? I can see the odd drop here and there, I think, but certainly not to the extent that we saw before. So now, this is where the question of strategy enters the mindset of our drivers here in the F1 Creator Series. That guy Vince on the back of Blackmere knows he has to get this move done. He's stuck behind him though, coming through Variante Alta. Can't afford to lose any more time because this will disconnect him from those that will have the DRS when it activates as the circuit gets more and more dry.
Now that we're looking at the possibility of pit stops, let's try and consider who's going to get caught up. Safso and Alex Gillen only separated by 9/10 of a second. They risk the opportunity of double stacking. Gillen decides to stay out and sets the fastest lap, which is swiftly taken away by a cascading number of drivers behind him. Riccio 3 comes in, and the other drivers that I think could be at risk of being close together, Infratic and Noguera, who now separated by just a singular position on our timing boards.
Yeah, this could be huge for Ferrari. I want to talk about as well penalties. Alex Gillen is on 2 warnings right now. One more misstep and he could yet get himself a severe penalty. And I mean, anything at this point is severe. But also the 2 Ferraris, there is 3 warnings on for Infratic right now, and his teammate Noiguera is on 2. So one misstep for both Ferraris could yet see them tumble down the order, not necessarily from a damage aspect, but just from the mere sense that they could lose time altogether come the end of this race. The classification could be their enemy. As now we watch Formula Karim in what has been a sterling performance from the man in Papaya. He's towing along Teammate Marduk. That guy Vince moves past Blackmere, and yes, he has lost out on serious time as well. He won't have DRS should that delta remain the same, but look at this fight we have in the top 5. Extraordinary. From Piece 2 down to Piece 5, we could see yet another stellar fight with many of the same drivers we saw fighting it out back at Monza.
Don't forget as well, as DRS becomes enabled, Vince and Blackmere could have the opportunity, if they involve Raz in to try and work their way forward. Gillen deciding to stay out once again, along with Infratic, who bites the bullet for the prancing horses, but pretty much everyone else behind him has decided to head in towards the pit lane, with the exception of the Alpine of Blackmere, who lets his teammate Razin Chai take the earlier pit stop. And I think now we're going to start to see the difference over 1 lap of undercut or overcut, as Nick Flies gets 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, that's a heavy penalty indeed. Now, I think it's really smart that Alex Gillen has opted to stay out, to be honest with you, TK. His last lap was his fastest lap. So, and it's the fastest lap of the race as well. So, Gillen playing a very smart game right now. Obviously sees that he's still got pace. If he can utilise these further, I'd imagine he'll come in on this lap. But as it stands, we're watching those that run on the mediums. Zafso has already boxed. He's our net race leader right now. That's the 2nd RB. Obviously, Alex Gillen's teammate. It'll be interesting to see who comes out first whether it's Zapso who crosses the line and past the pit lane first before Gillen comes out, or whether Gillen, after that fastest lap that we just witnessed, comes out ahead of his teammate. We could yet see that.
Well, it's all eyes on the pit lane surely now in the next few laps. Don't forget, Alex still has damage. Are we going to see him dump in and maybe take a front wing replacement if he's going to go for a faster lap towards the end of the Grand Prix, or maybe help his teammate Zapso go for a better run? But it's one of the longest pit lanes on the F1 calendar here at Imola, and our drivers will really feel it as they crawl along at absolute slow speeds.
Yeah, Infratic following him in as well. Blackmere doing the same. All eyes on Zapso, who will eventually cross the line. He has got a 3.5 second buffer to Noiguera in that net P2 position. Let's see what happens now as we watch them rush down through across the line to that line. Zapso takes the fastest lap away from his teammate, so he has managed to almost recover the damage that might have been done prior to his pit stop. And look at this, Infratic coming out ahead there of Alex Gillen. More penalties being distributed. It looks like the wing change was done, shall I say, TK, because as a consequence, Noiguera has moved into second place and DRS has been enabled. Infratic ahead of Gillen after the front wing change.
Yeah, Gillen took a new front wing. We saw that as he entered the pit lane. Karim getting past Noiguera there in towards the hairpin. And this is now all eyes on the front. 3.8 seconds the deficit between Karim and Zapso. Zapso, of course, with that 3-second penalty added to his name. And I wonder how fast Zapso can put his foot to the floor and survive the next, 18 laps of this Grand Prix?
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, we've still got plenty more to come. And Karim in second spot. Ricky 03 blasts past Noiguera as well and retakes that P3 that he had before he came into the pits. Tim Marduk also part of this fight as well. He's only 2/10 behind Noiguera here at this moment in time. Will he try and challenge heading down through towards Ravazza? Will he smell an opportunity? Not just yet, I'm sure, but he might have a go coming down in towards Tamburello, though Noiguera will get the tow and the DRS on Ricky and his Williams, heading down in towards turns 1 and turns 2 as we now watch them now burst down lap 15 of 32 to get underway this time. Here comes Noiguera. Tim Marduk doing exactly the same. Might get 2 for the price of 1 here as he looks to sprint down through towards turn 2. Can he open up? No. Only enough for P4, but still a place gained. Ricky losing out twice.
Yep, fantastic stuff. Meraki getting passed by Razin Chai as well further back. That's going to reunite the two Alpines, 9th and 10th respectively, on the grid at present. I thought I saw wing damage. I did for the Red Bull of Meraki front left end plate missing, and I think that's rather to be expected at the moment. We saw the carnage in the opening few laps. I wouldn't be surprised if it was from or as a result of that earlier.
Yeah, Noiguera, incidentally, fastest in the first sector as well on this lap. But remember, he did have that huge tow going down towards turn 2, so that obviously would have helped him. Tim Marduk might get a little bit more of a tow this time. Certainly Noiguera not the fastest in the middle sector. Formula Karim went purple in sector 2 with a 26.836. So therefore, we'll look to close up on the back of Zapso. Still 3 seconds to find her, but remember, there is a penalty under Zapso's name. Should it stay like this now, if Karim breaks to within that 3-second gap, he will be effectively at the end of the race. Should he get no penalties, your race winner. And it's fastest lap for Noiguera. Formula Karim did take it briefly. Alex Gillen takes it this time. Obviously now feeling better after the wing change to his car. Tim Marduk moves ahead now of Noiguera and into P3 in this race now. So things are now starting to get tight once again. If Tim Marduk can get back into within DRS of Karim here, we could see the battle for the race win be fought out over second place.
Yeah, this could be curtains for Zapso as well. Last lap alone, Formula Karim nearly 6/10 of a lap, 6/10 of a second quicker over the course of a lap. The McLaren making absolute inroads over the course of the last few laps, and Zapso, without the support of his teammate, looks to have been falling closer back towards this chasing pack.
Yeah, indeed. Quite a few penalties actually littered across the grid. I can tell you there are a sprinkling of 3s, but there are a few drivers with more 3s. We have got F1 Alex on 6 seconds. We've got 6 seconds as well for the Mercedes in 16th place of Grid Jokes. Also 9 seconds going the way of our car in 17th place. That's Scott Taylor, who's got 9 seconds of penalties, 6 seconds of penalties for Hayden van der Gullis, and 12 seconds going to T. George right at the very back. So there we go. Quite a few on multiple penalties, and therefore they'll have to take those on when they cross the line for the final time when we reach lap 32, and it's Noiguera now who retakes that third place. Team Marlock dropping down to fourth. The gap now 1.1 to 1.2 away from Karim. It is still stagnant at that 1.2 at this moment in time. They need to try and find a little bit more. But as opposed to Monza, you don't have those long straights where you can DRS each other, really. It's only in that main straight. They're fighting tooth and nail to find every which way they can. But with Karim being that much better in the corners, I think he's able to slightly subjugate the gains that Noiguera and Team Marlock make. Though as I say that, Noiguera has managed to bring himself to within 1 second. He will have DRS should it stay like this.
This is crucial for Noiguera. He's got to stay within DRS over the course of this lap. The number of laps remaining are continuing to diminish in front of our driver's eyes, and Karim will have his sights firmly set on Safso in front, and actually Safso could be saved if the battle or the group behind start to fight as heavy as I'm fairly expecting them to. That guy Vint picks up his first 3-second penalty of the afternoon as well, which is probably one of the first in this chasing group.
Yeah, phenomenal. It's now starting to build up and body up this time. Formula Karim now 1.7 away from Zafso at the front, and Noiguera still fighting nail to bring both he and Team Marlock, and also towing along Ricky 03 and that guy Vince back into the win equation. Noiguera with the fastest lap of the race once more, and does bring himself to within DRS of Formula Karim. So now we're going to see a multi-car scrap potentially fight out for the win again. The Creator Series really started to deliver once more, as it did in our previous race at Monza, and Karim finding more time. 1.5 now away from Zafso. Personal best ushered in from Karim in the last lap. 25.139 in the first sector is faster than Zafso by a whole 1/10 of a second. And in the last lap alone, Karim was nearly 6/10 quicker than Zafso over the last lap. So this is definitely not over. Plenty more to come, folks, and we could yet see a huge scrap in the final few laps of this race here in the Emilia-Romagna region. Like I said before, ATBC, chariot racing, where things I'm sure were dramatic back then, they're certainly dramatic right now, and Team Marlock in fourth, towing along Ricky 03 with that guy Vince entering the fold. They've had a Herculean drive this time, and that guy Vince with another stellar display. He started 18th, he's now in P6.
Certainly is indeed. He's had an almighty drive pretty much from the back of the grid. It feels like we're in the closing stages of this race already. We've only just crossed the halfway mark. We hit that about lap 16, so we've still got a considerable number of laps to go. The rain just feels like it's slowed everything down, elongated those first few laps, and now we can really put our foot to the floor and the racing can really begin under dry conditions.
Yeah, covertly as well. Meraki moving up. Ratin Chai also moving up. Remember, of course, Alex Gillen started second, while the man behind him started in 17th. Ratin Chai started 16th too. So we're starting to see quite a few cars now that started not necessarily in the front end of things, now start to fight their way forward. Hayden von der Gullis with a 3-second time penalty once more, and that'll add to the number he's already accrued, and that's 9 seconds that he's built up now. T. George behind him's on 12, but Arsenault only on 3 in front of him now as we watch Ratin Chai have a little look on Meraki. I'm sure he'd love to get one on Meraki this time here at Imola, but they're fighting over some points here in the top 10. Remember, the point system stretches from all the way in P1 down to P15. 25 points for a win, as in real life Formula 1, but it goes all the way down to 1 solitary point for 15th place. You don't get any points if you finish in 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, or indeed 20th. It is still Zafso, though, who's out in front, but just look at this. Karim is now within DRS, and he has got the DRS here on lap 20 as well. So now we're seeing the cars all body up together. We have got a straight fight now. 12 laps left, or should I say 13 including this one, and it's going to be a huge dogfight between those in the top 6.
Certainly is indeed. I wonder how long it will be before Gillen tries to claw his way back to this lead pack. He might even bring along Ratin Chai, Blackmit and Meraki as well for the giggles that he will have in that car. If he can bring 11 cars together at the end of this race, he will be absolutely loving life as he wants to try and cause carnage and hopefully this time escape the carnage instead of end up in a barrier.
Yeah, absolutely right. Team Marlock now springing back into it too, and fourth place at the moment, 2 tenths away from Noiguera in third place. He's on the cusp of yet another podium success here, Team Marlock, as well, following on from what happened last week. But obviously, due to the penalty he sustained in our last race, dropped down the order and wasn't able to net a podium again this time, despite him putting himself in the frame for a potential big result at Monza. he could yet get one here at Imola. It might not be a sorry sight here for the Aussie in the Italian job, as now race control gives Grid Jokes a 3-second time penalty. Zafso now in jeopardy as here comes Karim with his advanced pace. The DRS in his favour, the aero smiling upon him as he flies through Tamburello around the outside. Never a more majestic move to witness here around this Emilia-Romagna circuit. Zafso trying to fight back late in the day, but through Villeneuve they'll fly, and Formula Karim back to the front. A place he is oh so used to, but this time can he capitalise and take a first race win in the Creator Series?
Yeah, it's off the road for Arseno right at the back of the grid. He won't be too happy about that. I think it's a race to forget for potentially both Kick Saubers this afternoon, but Karim now has an opportunity to try and pull away. Use Safso as a stalking horse with that penalty in hand and allow Safso to do his dirty work by holding up the drivers that stand behind him.
Let's wait and see. We're still on lap 21 of 32. We've got the small matter of 12 laps, including this one left to go. It'll be 11 as they cross the timing line next time around. It's still Karim, though, out in front. Safso now in jeopardy of losing out again because Noigueira is getting closer, as is Tiamat Marduk, who goes up the Portuguese driver as they stretch through the second Rivazza section. Tiamat Marduk just loosened the car ever so slightly, but will have another shot. He is so close to the back of the Scuderia Ferrari and has DRS, much like Nogueira does have DRS as well. Safso returning the fire, back on Karim this time. Safso retakes the lead, but remember, does have that penalty against his name. They fly out of turn 3 through towards turn 4. Karim in second. Noigueira still remains in third. Tiamat Marduk, though, really pressurising and puncturing him here, looking for every opportunity, every avenue to move up into the podium places.
It's still hand over fist for a lot of our drivers. Safso still leads. He's only got 2 wins to his name, but of course, don't forget, Season 1 champion. He knows how to drive these cars. He knows how to be mature in the cockpit, and I think that experience maybe could come and pay dividends at the end of this race. We've got a relative rookie in the likes of Formula Karim standing amongst us. Nothing rookie in his driving, though, but when you're standing in the premise of these drivers, when you're standing on the grid, sometimes, and we've seen it more than once, it just gets behind you, it just gets ahead of you, where you lose that concentration in a split second.
Or when you talk about names like Tiamat Marduk, Alex Gillen, you talk about drivers that are synonymous with the F1 game. They have been producing content on this platform now for many, many, many years and still continue to show why they are the very best in what they do. But now we have got young pretenders to the throne. Formula Karim looking to pounce back this time on Zafso, retakes that race lead again on lap 23, and Gillen's back again to try and challenge Tiamat Marduk, gets his slightly wrong, and so does Ben, because Noigueira with his momentum manages to move back up into third. But obviously Noigueira utilising that DRS as well as the same time trying to defend against the onset attack here from Tiamat Marduk. I would suggest that Ben is probably looking in his mirror slightly, probably fresh in the mindset, was that moment that he and Gillen shared at Monza, and they look set to continue their titanic fight yet again here at Imola. And this could end up on the wrong end for Benjamin Daly as well, if Gillen has anything to say about it.
Certainly could do indeed. Gillen made declarations at the start of this season that he wanted that title. He wanted to match Ben toe-to-toe in terms of Creator Series Championships. He's shown brilliant pace at the opening round of COTA last week. He almost went for it if it wasn't for that unfortunate safety car, and now wanting to maybe go back to some of his old ways, sending a cheeky move down the inside, reminding drivers that they have to be looking in their mirrors. Gillen is going to be in this fight one way or another. And if there's one thing that's certain in this life, it's Alex Gillen in your mirrors.
Yeah, he's certainly going to apply the pressure. Zafso takes the lead again. Karim drops down to second. Here comes Noigueira. Here comes Karim. Noigueira around the outside of Formula Karim. Oh, Benjamin Daly has been collected, and by consequence, he storms into Alex Gillen. Again, another coming together between the Mercedes and the and once more, it's Gillen that's lost out, and by the looks of it, he is now fodder for the likes of Ricciardo 3, Noigueira as well. That guy, Vince, has stormed into fourth, and Tiamat Marduk has lost so much time. He's now disconnected from DRS. He's 1.3, a whole second behind as well, ahead of Formula Karim and more, as now there is only 2 contenders for this race lead, and because of the consequence of penalties, it looks like it could go Formula Karim's way.
Alex Gillen will be absolutely seething in that cockpit at the moment. He probably could have had a car reset coming into this race, but that little shunt there would have brought back so many memories of what happened just mere minutes ago, looking back to the previous race that we had in Monza. And I think if we know Alex Gillen, we've seen this sort of fiery spirit before. Someone's just put coal on his fire because he's going to burn brighter than ever to try and get through this pack.
I'm sure there'll be many of you now looking to tune into Alex Gillen's Monday debrief on the Creator Series. I can't imagine what he's going to say. Formula Karim now does take the lead here on lap 25 of 32. We got that guy Vince in third, but remember, he's got a penalty as well, though his is only 3 seconds. So if he does finish, he will finish higher than Zafso, but he still will drop lower than the likes of Noiguera and potentially Benjamin Daly as well. Despite the incidents that Ben has been involved in, he's only got 1 warning against his name, TK, so there is an advantage in the Aussies' way.
We've seen it time and time again where drivers have that 1 warning to their name. They know they can be, let's just say, creative with track limits in the final few laps. And I wonder if Ben is thinking, while he's sat in that cockpit, while he looks at the rear mirror of that Scuderia Ferrari, is he going to maybe try and move down the inside of a corner? He can take the worry that he gets a track warning penalty because he can essentially eat it and move on.
Yeah, certainly can. Still only 4 tenths, 3.5 to 4 tenths between Zafso and Karim at the front. That guy Vince now in third, but he's totally disconnected. 1.9, nearly 2 seconds away from the front two. Noiguera in fourth as well. Tiamat Malik. This could have been the straw, or that incident could have been the straw that broke the camel's back and could have thrown the result here to Karim. Scott Taylor with another moment. He's lost it as well right in this late stage. And again, like I said before, in our previous race, no safety cars. Alex Gillen looking for a Phoenix drive, trying to brush his way past several contenders. A little bit of contact between here, Tiamat Malik, and that guy Vince as well as they stretch out of Tamburello. Again, Benjamin Daly looking to fight back against Gillen this time. They're going to run wheel to wheel, heading through the Villeneuve chicane. That guy Vince trying to defend here against Gillen, who sends it up the inside and takes 4th place away from that guy Vince. And Benjamin Daly looking to get the run as well, and a twisty moment for Ricky 03, who very nearly lost the car.
Beautiful racing, beautiful sportsmanship left by both or all 3 of our drivers there. They didn't have the well, let's say the approach where they were going to run another driver off the road. They allowed Alex Gillen potentially down the inside. It was a fair move. It was a clean move from Alex Gillen, and that's what's allowed him up to P4. He'll now set his sights on Noiguera, who is in a little bit of no man's land with Formula Karim 2.5 seconds up the road.
Yeah, unbelievable scenes. Gillen now has somehow managed to fight his way back to within podium contention. Of course, Noiguera will still take it. The big question mark obviously lies with Zafso right now, and so does 6 seconds of penalties, so that will drop him below Alex Gillen. Karim takes the lead again. Noiguera with a great chance of nestling in a new podium in for him as well. This could be podium number 6 here for Noiguera, should he be able to bring this home. Alex Gillen coming through now as well. He's currently in 4th. He's currently hovering all over the back of Noiguera right now, looking to advance his placement. Of course, there could be a podium in line for the RB as well. Obviously, it won't be 2 RBs because Zafso, given his penalties, he will drop certainly heftily down the order. Dat Guy Vince, the only other driver in that top 5 battle with a penalty against his name. Only his is only 3 seconds at this point as they now climb the hill and come through Piratella. Alex Gillen chasing after Noiguera on the run down through towards Aqua Minerale once more. Zafso still 3.5 seconds clear up the road, and Karim with a great chance to close out his first ever F1 Creator Series victory.
What a way to do it. What a way to try and pull through the pack after the the overcut essentially from Formula Karim. He waited that 1 lap longer compared to a few of our other drivers. We saw Safso go in as one of the earliest drivers. He's done 15 laps on these tyres already. Formula Karim sat on 14. Gillen has the youngest tyres in this leading pack at the moment, and I wonder if that's going to come back to pay dividends to him as Safso retakes this race lead. Gillen is now surely going to get past Noiguera into turn 2 as well. Beautiful move from the V-car. Vince going to follow him through. I think he's going to try to.
Yeah, and certainly try and commit to it, that's for sure. Noiguera losing out in the most, unfathomable of places, right at the midway point of Tamburello. That guy Vince entered the game and managed to move up into 4th. Wow, what a move there from that guy Vince. I tell you what, full commitment. He had to be brave, he had to commit. He was already committed coming in towards the midway point of the apex, and somehow came out on top. Nogueira down in 5th. He's got Tim Mark behind him, who's also looking to gamble. Bear in mind, Benjamin Daly still with no penalties against his name. He's still only on 1 warning, so a great chance for him to profit off the misery of that guy Vincent Zafso at this stage. Karim, though, 3/10 away from Zafso. Currently, Alex Gillen still trying to make a charge. Gillen's not out of this race, really. I mean, if he can marshal together the time, there's every chance he could enter the fold for this lead battle. We've still got 4 laps left.
We do indeed, and Gillen, I think, has managed to break DRS. I'm not sure whether it was clear as they went over the check or the marker that you see on the track map at the bottom right-hand side of your screens. Will keep you updated of that, but I'm fairly sure he was far enough away that when we keep an eye back, yeah, Daco Vince hasn't got DRS to Alex Gillen in front of him.
No, he doesn't. So this gives Gillen a little bit of respite. Vince will not be troubling him. He can just focus now on hot lapping his next remaining 4 laps. So let's see what he can do. I'm sure his teammate Zafso won't challenge him at all. So if the opportunity arises, I mean, the ideal scenario here for Alex Gillen is if Zafso can slow Karim down. Should he get ahead of him coming through turn 1? I'm sure that's what they'll have the conversation regarding. Ricky 03 on the tail of Tiamat Marduk here this time on the run up through towards the Piratella. The Aussie still remains in 6th place, but Ricky, I'm sure, will look to come back fighting. Ricky also not on any penalties, so opportunities still remain within the top 7 as it stands. I do wonder whether RB will pull those tactics there, certainly with Zafso being in 2nd TK. If he can get ahead of Karim and slow him down, there's a chance here for Alex Gillen.
I think the conversation will be, especially from Zafso's side, is come and get me when it's referring to Alex Gillen. I don't think Zafso's going to potentially slow down his race, allow for Vince Nogueira and the rest of that pack to catch up to the 2 of them. But if he says, look, Alex, if you can catch up to me in the next couple laps, I'll let you past, and then you are more than welcome to go and attack Formula Karim.
Yeah, well, Zafso has taken the lead here at this point, so I wonder whether the slowing down tactics will come into play. Let's see what kind of gains Gillen can make. We're seeing a scrap further down as well. Hayden von der Gullis and Scott Taylor going at it, coming through the Villeneuve chicane. Gullis down at the very rear of the field. Remember, he started on pole position, reverse pole for this race after the result of our opening race of this double header. Ricky 03 also tussling it out with Tiamat Marduk as well as they fly up through Aqua Minerale, or should I say coming out of Tosa. A bit too soon to say that one, George, but Zafso still in 1st. Formula Karim in 2nd still. Now, is Zafso now going to start pulling out the moves, try and defend as best he can? And bear in mind, there is a little bit of traffic further up as well. Gillen's not out of this.
Gillen's not out of it at all. As we showed that little battle, Hayden, Scott and Arseno all getting involved one another. They're only a few seconds up the road from the leading 2 at the moment. And I think if Zafso's not going to slow down Formula Karim, this front pack certainly could do the job for him. You can see Daco Vince dropping 2 seconds off the back of Alex Gillen. Now, Gillen's starting to make inroads to the front too, but this actually could help out Zafso if it gives him DRS in the last lap.
Yeah, it could well do. Zafso now, obviously not troubled to challenge Formula Karim at this stage, just happy to take the tow and just trying to help Alex Gillen out as best he can. Now, obviously, like we said, Karim needs to try and manage the lap traffic as best he can, not to get slowed down. Huge chance for a first win in the F1 Creator Series here, but obviously very wary that Gillen is going to strike on any opportunity should it arise, and Zafso, I get the feeling he's going to have to play his part. And look at this battle between Gullis and Taylor. If that persists, this is surely going to disadvantage the McLaren.
It almost certainly is. Hayden Gullis can throw a little bit of uncertainty up in the air. Not only is he trying to fight for his own race at the moment, he does go wide through Aqua Minerale, allowing our front 2 through. Very good of him, and so does Scott Taylor. But look at the Williams coming up behind. I think that's going to be, is that Ricky getting slowed up?
Yeah, I think so. I think Ricky might be getting slowed up as well. So Gillen, I think, Gillen's right on the tail of DRS here. He's 1.3 coming through the Variante Alta. So we're just trying to let know. I think that was that was Hayden Gullis trying to let through the RB of Alex Gillen. And Gillen, if anything, has actually managed to gain time, I think, a little bit in all this. 1.3, he was just about within DRS coming through Alta, just could not quite get the exit. He was fighting through the traffic. Back again comes Zafso, lap 32 now. We're on the final lap of the race. Here comes Zafso, around the outside here in the RB. Now, he needs to put the slowing down tactics into motion now and ASAP, because Gillen, will want an opportunity. Big moves here from Tiamat Marduk as well. Big run as well coming in from Noiguera, who looks to come up through the middle. We got lap traffic as well in all this. And then Aston Martin's gone. It's Vince. Vince into the barrier and into the gravel as a result as well. And round goes Gullis. Gullis has gone as well, so Scott Taylor moves into 18th. That is a major moment down at Villeneuve.
Keep an eye on Alex Gillen though within a second. I don't think he's going to have much of an opportunity to strike here, but Formula Karim could be under pressure as they run up towards the line. There's a little bit of an opportunity if Safso's slowing it up, and look at how close Gillen's getting, my apologies, as we head in towards the final chicane. He's within touching distance of that McLaren now.
It only takes one move, one mistake. Karim now on the cusp of gaining a first victory in the F1 Creator Series. Safso doing his best to try and slow him up, but it surely isn't going to work this time. Safso tried. He could not succeed because Formula Karim, in his very first race win, he takes it here at Imola. Alex Gillen finishes in second. I'm sure a reprieve after the drama back at the Temple of Speed at Monza, and Noiguera obtains somehow, someway, his 6th podium in the Creator Series. Tiamat Marduk clinching onto 4th, and Ricky 03 in 5th for Williams. Safso all the way down in 6th after the penalties, and that guy Vince, a huge moment after getting sent into the gravel trap, finishes in 7th place ahead of Meraki. Racing Chai in 9th. Lolinoba rounds out the top 10. I mean, how do you sum that one up, TK?
I have absolutely no words to describe what we've just seen here this afternoon. It was a race that had almost everything in it, apart from safety cars, which I can't quite believe I'm saying. We didn't have a single safety car in Monza. We didn't have a single safety car in Imola, but everything else, and I'm gonna do the move. Absolute cinema.
Cinema, absolute cinema indeed. And we've also got to do a big shout out as well, because there has been points accrued by F1 Alex as well, down in 13th place. Congratulations, F1 Alex, on achieving points here at this stage. I believe that's 3 points going his way, I think, TK.
I think he'll be more than happy. Points is points when it comes down to the team championship, and to get some on your 6th appearance, I mean, in itself, is a fantastic achievement.
It is. Obviously, Sauber need them right now, and I'm sure this will be the the statement that will go on to hopefully helping F1 Alex to move on and grab a few more. But I mean, what a phenomenal display. Formula Karim, race winner in the Creator Series, was a champion in F2 as well. What a performance he gave as well on run into that championship. He is our reigning champion in F2. There isn't obviously another F2 championship for now. You never know what the future holds though, however. But Formula Karim, a race winner now in the Creator Series, announcing himself as one of the top talents, and based on what we have seen as well from Monza and even to last week, arguably should have won the first race of the season as well. Okay.
Yeah, almost certainly. It was a fantastic drive out at Kota. It was a fantastic drive out on the Italian double header, and if that's anything to announce his invitation into the season, let's put it that way, he's got a lot more rounds to come and a lot more rounds to show where he's going to end up on that podium.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Tachyon as well in the live chat on YouTube. Yes, 2K views here live on YouTube here as well. Big thank you to everyone for tuning in to this. Also to everyone on Twitch as well. Really appreciate it. Let's run through the result. Formula Karim, race winner here at Imola. Gillen in second. Noiguera in third. Tiamat Marduk fourth. Ricky 03 in fifth. Safso, That Guy Vince, Meraki, Racing Chai, Lolinoba round out the top 10. Infratic GB, F1 Alex, Grid Jokes, T George, Nick Flies, Blackmere, Hayden von der Gullis, Scott Taylor and Arsenault finished at the rear of the field. So there you have it, folks. Those are your final drivers. That is the result. That is the classification in the Italian job race weekend here. And the Creator Series just keeps on buzzing. We have got, I am sure, a hefty fight for this Creator Series Drivers' Championship. It is certainly not all said and done by any means. That is 3 races concluded and plenty more to come. And I, for one, can't wait, TK, as to where it goes next, because we have now witnessed a new race winner. We witnessed a fantastic race win as well for Tiamat Marduk yesterday. And obviously GB winning as well. 3 different winners to kickstart Season 9.
Fantastic stuff. And I mean, start as we mean to go on. There's lots of opportunities, lots of races where drivers may throw a little bit of magic up in the air. Before we go to the interviews, shall we remind everybody where we are going for this season in our calendar?
Let's do that. Why not, indeed? We haven't spoken about the calendar all that much, so let's take you through it now. Obviously, we can tell you all the races because a lot of them are mysteries, but we can tell you about some of the races that are going to come up. We have, of course, got round 3 coming up very soon. February the 1st, actually the day after my birthday, believe it or not. February the 8th. Monaco. We head over to the Monaco region for full qualifying, and obviously that will be the wild card for that one. We've got another double header though coming up for a fan vote GP, so make sure you get involved in that for 5 on February 22nd. A couple more mystery rounds as well for round 6 and 7th on March 1st and March 8th. We then head over to Aussie land to Benjamin Daly's home race for round 8 on March 15th as well. We got China coming up for round 9 on March 22nd. Then round 10, we head to Japan. In fact, China, a sprint race as well, so you don't want to miss that. Full qualifying as well for Japan for round 10 on April 5th. Bahrain, double header on April 12th. And then, of course, we have Jeddah for round 12 as well. Penultimate round on April 19th. And then the Mystery GP with a sprint race to cap off the season on April 26th. And that'll be round 13. And that should breeze us through nicely into F1 25, TK.
Should do indeed. Not only am I looking forward to F1 25, I'm looking forward to that final round. Round 13, lucky for some, maybe unlucky for others. And who knows what our championship will look like by the time we reach there.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to be in for a big treat. I think judging off the back of having 3 individual different winners, I think tells us that we are going to be in for one furious championship. Doesn't happen very often when you look at leagues. You generally get one driver that dominates. Here in the Creator Series, it's a free-for-all, as you can obviously see. We've seen plenty of free-for-all action there. If you haven't clipped yet, be sure to get your clips in, because you never know. You might have yours featured somewhere on a short on the Creator Series channels. In the meantime, I think we're starting to build up or accrue a few interviews in the waiting room right now, TK. Shall we bring them in? We'll start off with Karim, I think.
Let's start off with Karim indeed. Let's drag him in and let's have a little bit of a chat.
Yeah, here he is. Formula Karim, race winner here this time around. It took a little bit of time. Some of us probably would have expected it last week after the grand qualifying performance to take your first pole, but it doesn't matter. When it comes, you savour it anyway. Formula Karim, race winner in the Creator Series. You must be buzzing.
Yeah, honestly, it hasn't been. I haven't had that many races in Creator Series so far, especially in F1. But it feels like it's taken forever to even get a podium, just from, I don't know what it is, bad luck, or just carnage happening. It hasn't gone my way, but I'm glad, especially after the first race, to finally win.
I mean, it was a tremendous result, Karim, and it could yet set the tone. You are the reigning F2 champion as well. Of course, we won't have another F2 season, obviously, off the back of Season 8, so you will be the reigning F2 champion for a considerable amount of time. But you seem to have breezed into the Formula 1 cars, settled in amongst an F1 grid here in the Creator Series really, really well. It kind of all started with the pole position last week, really, didn't it? And you had your chance, really, to win at Texas, but it just did not happen.
Yeah, I mean, you could even argue as far back as my first reserving appearance in F1. I think it was Brazil last season. I made quite a few mistakes, being my first race, but I was somewhere near the podium battle. Then my second race, China, I was in it for the win. I feel like every race I've been there, bar maybe like 1 or 2, and obviously last week as well. But yeah, you do 40-50 laps, you do the whole race, and then just for some reason, the last 10 laps, it all unfolds and something happens. So it's not a nice feeling. As much as we're here for fun, it's not a nice feeling to do 50 laps and have it come undone. But yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, we're delighted for you. TK, have you got a question for the man?
Well, first of all, fantastic race so far from yourself, and just looking ahead to the rest of the calendar, are there a couple of tracks on there that maybe you're worried about, maybe some that you're really looking forward to?
Yeah, I would say Monaco's 50-50. Of course, anything can go wrong there with all the walls. Bahrain is a bit meh for me. Japan as well, but then you have tracks like Australia and China, which are really strong for me. So I think in the end it all balances out, for me anyways. But yeah, there's a few that I'd be looking out for.
Well, we wish you all the very best for the next bunch anyway, Karim. Congratulations on the first win.
Thank you.
It won't be the last. The championship kicks off in a pretty good fashion for yourself. It's an open book right now. Plenty more big races to come. Well done.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Have a good evening.
And you.
You too.
And you. That's Formula Karim, everybody, joining us here for a brief interview. We'll of course, bring in as well Alex Gillen. I think we've got to talk to the man who finished second, and I'd imagine we've got lots to talk about with regards to this one. Alex Gillen, back in the chat, and after a tricky Monza race where things certainly did not end well for you, the bounce back was on, but it wasn't easy.
No, it's not been an easy day, no. Yeah, I'm not going to go too hard. I didn't even say anything on my stream when all the drama kicked off. I just did a BRB screen for a bit for fear of, just unnecessarily losing my mind and stuff. But yeah, it's not the best. There's a couple of things to report from my end, which I'll do. But yeah, in terms of Imola, it was a good comeback. Unfortunately, Hayden gave me wing damage at the start. He was fighting a bit hard, really, which massively put me on the back foot. Was able to hold on. I was working hard for my teammate, trying to just hold the guys back as the best I could, which I managed to do. And he crossed the line P1, so that was good. That work was vindicated. And then, yeah, tried a 3-second gap to the fast guys. So I thought, right, I'll take the wing in the pits. Hopefully I'll still win the DRS train, but wasn't quite there. Then I had to push like hell to try and get back in the DRS train. Finally managed to get through, managed to break the DRS train, which is pretty rare in this game. And then set about catch leaders, but unfortunately Hayden once again just sailed in between us and cost me DRS on the last lap, which stopped me really being able to see what I could do on the final lap. But I think it was always a little bit, a bit day late, dollar short, to be honest, at the end there. But certainly an eventful one, let's put it that way.
Yeah, that pesky Hayden Gullis back at it again. But we got to talk about as well, I did wonder whether yourself and Safso had perhaps got onto the VC chat, got on the comms and said, listen, Safso, do me a favour, you've got penalties around 9 seconds. Can you help me up and slow down Formula Karim and give me a chance?
I didn't. To be honest, he's a good team player, and I obviously helped him out early in the race. I thought, I reckon he'll park the bus, but he didn't. But then I realised, of course, he's got a penalty himself. He has to go as quickly as he can to try and minimise the position loss. So then I was like, okay, I've got to do this on my own. So then started pushing like hell, and as I said, very nearly got there, but not quite. Yeah, I don't think I could have expected anything different from Safso, to be honest, to do exactly what he did.
No, not at all. Tom, anything from you?
No, I was going to say pretty much what you were talking about at the end. Was there a moment that you thought you could have kind of snuck back in at the end there and won it, or was it just maybe 1 or 2 laps too short?
Yeah, 1 lap's too short, really. As I said, I could have got DRS on the penultimate lap if Hayden didn't get involved, which would have been good, and that would have helped me. It's worth, 6, 7, 8, 10 to this track. It's worth so much. So I've been right with him on the last lap. You never know. There was a few braking zones. My teammate was leading the race. You never know. It definitely was possible. But yeah, unfortunately, once I missed DRS, it was a case of being over a second back, and there's not a lot more I can do with just 1 lap to go. But I managed to close them up. My pace was fantastic again today in both Monza and Imola, so there's a positive to take from there. But yeah, just a bit, like I said, just run out of laps a little bit. A couple more laps, maybe we could have fought them. But look, P2 is still phenomenal. That I think it was P8 when I come out the pits after everyone pits. So I'll absolutely take that comeback.
Live to fight another day, Mr. Gillen. Congratulations on the podium, and we'll see you next time for the next round.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Alex Gillen, everybody. What a character. Obviously, someone who hasn't had it easy tonight, to say any least. Obviously, things did not quite go peachy at Monza, and they were close to not going peachy either at Imola as well. It could have been an Italian sacked from your job here for Alex Gillen this time. But yeah, no, incredible. I mean, obviously, he did well come back, didn't he, TK? But I mean, I have no doubt that behind the wall of defense that is his emotions right now, I would have a feeling that there's probably some seething feelings after what happened at Monza.
I mean, very much so. You've got to have that fire, and I think it's just been relit. It may have gone out slightly after Kota. He had that almost defeated attitude. He saw the safety car come late. It was an unfortunate one for him and didn't pay off. He's come into Monza, gone, okay, let's get this again. Maybe wilted out in the rain. As soon as that car's hit the barrier, someone's put fire in there again. He's stoked up. And next week, I think we're going to be saying, watch out for Gillen.
Yeah, watch out for Alex Gillen next week. And I'm telling you what now, we of course speak about levels of the Tiamat Marduk Alex Gillen rivalry. I have a feeling we just dialed the DEFCON up a little bit, I think, at this point. Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of battles between those two, and the championship fight is not over. Both of them are in the frame at this moment in time. It's still early days, but they're both in the frame. I mean, over a 13-round season, TK, it's a very thin threshold. One mistake, that could be the end of it all.
Certainly could be. We've got, as you said, some tough tracks coming up. We look ahead to even Monaco. You've got a full qualifying session, and that's where I think most of the grid's going to be determined. Who knows? We might see a red flag again. We saw that back in Season 7, if you remember back that long ago. And that could completely throw the grid on its head, but it's the reason we're doing full qualifying there. It's such a spectacle seeing it go through the streets, the twists, the turns, and that is going to be, I think, going to bring it to the next level.
Yeah, could be a very big swan song this season to the F1 24 game, and I'm sure it's a swan song we'll be glad to see the end of as well in many ways, with F1 25 about to come around the corner. Obviously, everyone hyped about the new release. But yes, I mean, looking ahead now, folks, obviously, said you've championship points will be obviously dished out as approved. Obviously, congratulations to all our winners so far this season. Obviously, being kicked off with Tibet Marduk last time out. GB getting a historic second race win of the season. What does that mean for his championship this season, TK?
I think that really hypes him up as he heads into the season. He got his first win last time. Baku, fantastic drag down towards the line, came across it, and you could feel how much that meant to him. I want to go back and watch his VOD after today's race, because I guarantee the emotion will be exactly the same. And now he knows he's done it once. The difficulty is never doing it once. It's doing it for a second time and then being able to repeat it time and time again. And he's got over that hurdle now. I think we're going to see a chain of GB wins in this season.
I think we could as well. And let me just say, we talk about the F1 Sim Racing World Championship being one of the most convoluted and most hotly contested championships as well. We could have our very own here with the new blood coming in, the likes of Formula Karim. Keep your eyes peeled. I tell you what, this story is not done as far as Karim's concerned. Let's take you through the current drive standings as well, folks. Team Marduk still your championship leader by one slender point. Now, I know I said hotly contested. Yeah, it takes it to a whole new level, doesn't it? 1 point between the two. Obviously, both of them using Mercedes powertrains as well. Meraki in third place on 44. Alex Gillen in fourth place on 39, ahead of Rasin Chai and the Alpine in 30th. You got GB68, huge win, of course, earlier on today. Remember, missed out on the race last week, did not take part. So, effectively, in his first appearance this season, race winner. Not a bad ratio whatsoever. That guy Vince also showing some really promising starts as well. It was a bit unfortunate as well coming into the closing stages at Imola. Did have that penalty though, don't forget. Lolinoba in 8th, Noiguera in 9th, Safso in 10th on 22, Ricky 03 on 21, Matati, who of course raced last week as a reserve, he is on 16, Scott Taylor in 13th on 13, with Hayden Gullis 12 on 14th place, with Grid Jokes in 15th with 12, Infratic in 16th on 10, Nick Flies in 17th on 9, Adam Sanderson in 18th on 7, didn't see him today, but I'm sure he'll be back very soon. Arseno in 19th on 4, and Blackmere, who marked his appearance here as well this time today. Great to see him returning as well. He is towards the rear of that standing. Let's take you through the team standings. We have got Mercedes at the head of the order as they're continuing their vibrant run. Obviously, TM Marduk scoring some vital points towards the closing stages of Imola. They are currently sat 8 points clear of Visa Cash App RB. That is the combination of Zasso and Alex Gillen. So remember, the big playoff between Gillen and Tim Marduk. We ain't seen nothing yet. We've got a whole season to tell you that story, so stay tuned. McLaren in third place, 1 point behind Visa Cash App RB in 60-point territory, with Aston Martin in fourth as well. They're joint. Aston Martin could become a big feature deeper into this season, so keep your eyes peeled on them. Ferrari in fifth on 50 points, Red Bull on 46. Meraki will be looking for a few more results as well. Haas in 7th place on 39. Alpine in 8th. Remember, Tom has yet to return to Alpine just yet, so when he returns alongside Rasin Chai, be prepared to see a massive upturn in their results as time draws on. Williams in 9th as well in 33-point territory, and Sauber move up to 7 points after we saw F1 Alex clinch points back at Imola and managing to accrue 3 points against his name, meaning Sauber now move up to 7 points on 10th place. So there we have it, folks. That rounds out your standings. Let's talk about social medias. But first of all, I want to say a big thank you to each and every single one of you at home, wherever you've been watching on YouTube or Twitch, wherever across the globe. We really do appreciate all your support. We're hitting some really big numbers according to you people in the chat, so thank you all so much for that. If you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Also hit the subscribe button if you've been watching on YouTube. If you've been watching on Twitch, big hello to you guys. Leave a follow. Stay up to date with everything here around the F1 Creator Series. Don't forget to check out the channels as well. We have Twitter, Instagram, you name it. TikTok as well at F1 Creator Series. Be sure to check those out as well. Big shout out to our sponsors and partners, EA Sports, of course, and IMB too. Now, if you want to check out your beautiful commentary duo, first of all, we'll kick things off with Tom Knight. Tom, where can they find you, sir?
I'm at everything. They call me TK, sometimes with a little underscore in front of it. They do, funnily enough.
Where can they find you, TK? Repeat that for everybody at home. Sorry, I interrupted.
It's all good. They call me TK on pretty much every single social media. George, what about yourself?
You can find me at George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, folks. It's always the same. You name it, at George Morgan TV is the place to be. But, folks, the place to be will be next Saturday. Don't forget to tune in. This championship is just getting started. 3 different winners. You'd be calling me crazy, but I can tell you it's happened. We'll see you next time for our next race here in the F1 Esports Creator Series. Goodbye.